On the Dawg Daily with just one badge, bro. Today, Nez is out smelling the roses in LA, getting ready for the Dog Bowl already. So I'm here to hold down the fort. Platform of the people, underdog fantasy, all that good stuff. And we're gonna do a little hoops breakdown, 6-gamer. Mixed it up in the streets a little bit last night. I think I did 5 entries, something like that. So we'll do 6-game hoops breakdown here. Hopefully you guys caught the dance show yesterday. I only caught half of it. I screwed up the start time there, but thought the boys did. I went back and watched that. Thought the boys did a good service to the dance streets there. I can't look at myself full screen like that. We got to get over to here. But yeah, we'll do 6-game hoops breakdown, and then we will do a Dinger Draft, and we will do. I think that's all we'll do today. We'll do that, and then it's on to Dog Bowl, man. Really looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to Best Ball Viper, my guy. He's gonna be out there for sure. Looking forward to seeing so many of you guys. Looking forward to kind of just getting the lay of the land of what's going on with Underdog right now. Like a lot of talks just in general. Unfortunate, downsizing stuff there as they pivot the brand and that sort of deal. But I'm going to represent the draft guys in a big way and make sure these games aren't going anywhere. We've been told they're not going anywhere. But we'll see. I'll have some stuff to report back after the weekend there, and hopefully a big dub, maybe a big check to report back. Who knows? But this guy's standing in my way there. Best Ball Viper be standing in my way. My guy Eggers is here for the take on the trade. I'll get it off my chest right now as viewership trickles in because only Eggers cares. But a trade today between my Vancouver Canucks and his Dallas Stars. They got Tyler Myers from us. And the take is there's a long storied history of Tyler Myers around here. I mean, anytime you can acquire a guy who's going to play 15 minutes a night in a shutdown pairing as like a 5th or 6th defenseman who's 6'7", who can be on the PK, it's probably a good thing for your hockey team, right? Like he's a journeyman veteran depth guy. He didn't want to go anywhere other than like 3 or 4 places. And Dallas was basically the only place that he would waive his no trade clause to go to because he's originally from there. So there's a lot of backstory here. Like Tyler Myers was a Memorial Cup winning, like really good defenseman. Then when he got to the league, he was like this hybrid do everything, PP1 plus shutdown plus high draft pick, like in Buffalo. He's a little bit less so of that guy now. Now he's like 15 minutes a night, can just be solid in his own end, that sort of thing. He's obviously lost a step. So he's like, he takes some bad penalties sometimes just because he's like caught off stride, but he still skates really well for his size. But he's on a really good deal for you guys because he never wanted to leave Vancouver because his kid has like, some form of like assisted learning he needs or requires, right? So they found a place that they love to have him at and this sort of thing. And the only reason he would waive a no trade to leave Vancouver was a chance at a cup, coupled with the fact if it was close to his hometown. And he's from Houston originally. He grew up in Kelowna, but like he's from Houston originally. So that's why he waived it. That's why he's going there. I think it's a really good get on a really team-friendly deal for you guys. So there's my spiel. There's my one puck guy segment of the day. Actually, the other puck guy segment of the day was playing last night, and a buddy of mine broke his arm. Just fucking gross, man. Had me questioning everything in life of like, why do I even play this game? But anyways, let's push forward. Let's talk about some hoops today. Yeah, I'm seeing everybody in the chat here. We're getting some injury news trickling in here. We got a Kevin Porter out tag. Then we got a Jonathan Kuminga Q tag, and then now we're getting the Memphis stuff rolling in right now. Out tag on Santi Aldama, a couple doubtful tags rolling through. We'll go through it all there. I think most people were thinking that Cedric Coward, first game back, second night of a back-to-back, wouldn't play. Ty Jerome wouldn't play the back-to-back, and Scottie Pippen Jr. wouldn't play the back-to-back. They did sign Omax Prosper to a actual big boy contract now, so he is off of the having to have his days monitored contract. So he should be good to go tonight. Wait and see if they re-sign a 10-day for Rupert, Ryan Rupert there. So yeah, we'll talk through we'll talk through it all. We'll talk through it all. Yeah. Yeah, Jets, I kind of just hit this off the top there. We're going to know a lot more after this weekend. Yeah, I mean, I will say that like they're obviously going, the evolution of what took place was they went from, drafts only to then Pick'em Incorporated to then wanting to go toe to toe with the sports books. Then the sportsbook stuff, I'm not sure a lot of people know, but like Dawg Bowl was supposed to be in Kansas City, was also supposed to be the first sportsbook release program. They had some red tape and some legal issues there, tried to pivot it back. Then they just ended up scrapping sportsbook associated with that. Then now it's a pivot into prediction markets. They signed the deal with crypto.com. They do all this sort of stuff. So if you're following along on the business side of things, like that's kind of been the trajectory. And we've been told that, yeah, just because they scaled back, it kind of sounds like, and this is my interpretation, this is nobody else's, this is just reading, I have no insider information, this is just reading the tea leaves and stuff. It's kind of just my understanding that they just had a financial guy, just look at it all from a top view down and go, okay, this person hasn't been with the company that long, they can go. This person can go, this one can go. And they kind of just did what big companies do in this tech landscape right now when people are pivoting markets, incorporating AI and this sort of thing. And they just did this ruthless chop, and that's just the nature of big money business for a company that has a big val and is probably going to find its way to an IPO someday. So I'm not concerned about draft games going anywhere. It's unfortunate that we lost TJ and Brett and some of the resources associated with that. They're really good people. They're really sharp minds. They're big time part of this community. But draft games were running very smoothly with just Numi and Hope before too. So I am bullish that, things can push forward and still be strong. That being said, we're going to learn a lot this weekend and we're going to have these conversations and I'm going to learn stuff that I don't know and this sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to it both for the experience, the fun, the whatever, and also just seeing, where's the trajectory of everything. So yeah, that's kind of all I got to, that's kind of all I got on it. Like, I don't know. So, and I don't want to speak out of turn. So I'm just kind of waiting it all out. Right. We're still affiliated with the company. We're still doing our show. We're still part of Draft Games. It's nothing's changed for us. Business as usual. Right. Yeah. Curated saying happy WBC day. Yeah. A lot of weird stuff going on with the World Baseball Classic right now in terms of like these insurance conversations that are coming out of like who could play and who couldn't play. Yeah, anyways, I'm looking forward to World Baseball Classic. I've been to the World Baseball Classic twice, maybe 3 times now, just because I had a buddy who used to play for Canada and we went down a couple times to watch. Yeah, but it's great, man. Hell of a spectacle. I love competitive baseball for your country. I think it's a beautiful thing. Obviously, you have to stagger the start days because it starts overseas. And then, go from there. Anyways, give me 2 seconds here to just click a couple buttons because I'm doing the show on my lonesome. And then we will get right in to the hoop stuff. Okay, cool. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's start with last night there. Results of last night. I watched a good portion of basketball before I went and touched ice last night. Got 50 in the main contest there. Didn't fare overly well. I was joking in the Discord about my favorite lineup. We'll take a look at it in a second there. Shout out to Falco. Been around for a long, long time. We got the snip snap on Anthony Edwards, which was just so funny. Uh, it's just we've seen it 3 times this year now, where the Timberwolves decide to just randomly give a guy a Q tag for rest or injury management like 3 hours before tip, and then they wind up playing spectacularly, like, because there was no actual designation for it. Yeah, bizarre. The Bam stuff ended up being really good against that Nets interior there. You needed Melo to come back to the right-hand side of the board. Karl Anthony Towns was a faller because the projections did not like him. He ended up having a nice 21 and 12 there. He's low-key leading in rebounds in a big way. But, man, again, 28 minutes, 29 minutes, all this stuff with Mitch Rob, because what we cited yesterday, that unit with Mitch Rob, it's hard to keep it off the floor because it's playing better than the unit with Karl Anthony Towns, and they're playing less overlap. So Karl Anthony Towns' minutes have low-key been down. Trey Murphy in his second game back there puts up 32 minutes, 39 fantasy points there. Him and Zion had ADPs right beside each other. Zion winds up playing, but Trey Murphy outplays him. And then Con Knipple, who continues to surge for both Rookie of the Year and for 3-pointers made this season. Pretty crazy, man. Yeah. So this is a very interesting one here. Clippers is saying, like, an Ant Q tag may as well be a probable. I believe this is true, but I just don't understand why they add it midday. Like if he comes into the day with a Q tag, Ant is renowned for playing through everything. But I don't know why you file like 4 separate injury reports saying he's fine, then give him a Q for rest, and then he plays. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Why even add the Q ever, right? So, yeah. I had a couple, because I was drafting in that window, I had a couple nice Luka plus Ant teams where he fell all the way back, and I was kind of high on Melo as well, so I wound up having a decent amount of Melo. I was high on Brandon Ingram as well, but Kevin Porter Jr. wound up in both of them and sunk those ships for me, or else I would have had some really nice ones, because I did have, I think I had 3 of the Luka, Ant plus Melo, and somehow wound up with Michael Porter Jr. on 2 of them. My highest lineup of the night there was that same start with Bam. Never Booker, but Booker was projecting really well, and Booker, I don't know what to say about Booker right now. We haven't seen ceiling from Booker in a long time, and I was doing a little bit of research last night, just preliminary stuff for the Dawg Bowl there, and I'm a little bit concerned about the usage rate of Jalen Green in tandem with Booker. It feels like they're running back the poor man's version of, like, well, and I mean, this is super poor man's version, but it feels like they're running back the super poor man's version of Booker and KD, where it was like one night it'll be one guy's duties and the other night it'll be another guy's duty. It's kind of ugly, man. Have to draft Michael Porter Jr. and have to draft Booker because of ADP tells me to. Yeah. 2 bad picks by me there, but they look nice. The Jalen Williams stuff aged beautifully there. Chet did not play particularly well, and then J. Will goes in there and cooks. They actually didn't start alongside each other, which was kind of what I was hoping for, but it worked out anyways. And then Sadiq Bey was a little bit of a hedge off the Zion stuff and off of the minutes on Trey Murphy would be limited ever so slightly. Really liked the Brandon Miller stuff as well. So big shouts to the top of the leaderboard here. The Woods up here a couple times. I'm sure many of you guys are up there as well. That is all I have on last night there. Some of it will naturally trickle into tonight, because tonight's slate, guys, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. So 6 games slate and 5 teams on the back end, back-to-back, also with some moving pieces. Sixers have injuries that were actually injuries from last night moving into tonight. OKC has a situation where they're bringing, SGA back into the lineup there. Hornets have already done their injury report thing, but Melo played big minutes last night. We know that they like to cap Melo's minutes in back-to-backs. The Knicks take care of business north of the border, and then they have to come back here to Madison Square Garden this evening to host a tough Thunder team. And we're going to have no Mitch Robb because that was it was stated prior to, but it's official now with the injury report. Yeah, so that's kind of the crux of everything. We can go game by game. We could talk about some of the plays I like. I've done 10 of them this morning, I believe. Yeah, something like that. I guess the last note is front end back-to-backs. Utah is the only team on the front end back-to-back 9-game slate tomorrow. So 6 games today, 9 tomorrow, 5 on the back end back-to-back, 1 on the front end back-to-back the other way. Going to be a lot of moving pieces in terms of ADP at the front. We have a big tier here of kind of like 6 really good plays. It's not like a stark, you have to take this guy as 101 kind of slate. Although Maxey will definitely outproject this group because SGA probably a little bit on minutes. Jalen Johnson just came back. He had like a back thing there, and he came back and played 30, so it's bullish for him. But this Atlanta team isn't the same team that he's returning to when he was cooking up those big 60 burgers. If you go back box score watching the last kind of like 5 or 6 games prior to this, when they've brought CJ McCollum into the starting unit, and usage is a little more spread with Kuminga around and with CJ McCollum. But now with Kuminga getting the Q tag, who knows? Maybe we see the resurgence of 35, 36 minutes Jalen Johnson, who just dominates. Giannis, second game back. He was on pace, so he played 25 in this one. Guys, I think he was on pace to play almost 30 in this one. I did not think he would. I thought between 22 and 27, and I said that was a wide range and a hedge, and I said 25 would be my number. Man, they pulled him with like 5 or 6 minutes left in this one, and then it was just garbage time because they were down like 28. So I don't know, man. The Giannis minutes, and now you throw in the wrinkle of Kevin Porter Jr. being out. If you wanted to be the guy who just gets overweight Giannis right now, like the only reason they brought Giannis back right now is that they want to play for the play-in games, right? Like this team has, they can't tank. They can't really tank because here, I'll just bring up the standings for a second. This team, like that, I'll just do it on Google or whatever so we can see here what's going on. Hello. Okay. Won't let me click on anything. All right. Apparently we won't do it that way. Okay. Yeah, so they need to win games right now, right? Because they're trying to get into this play-in game. They have too many wins to like full tank and get down here, right? And they have basically too good a basketball team right now. They went on like that 8-2 stretch without Giannis, and now they've come back down to earth, and it's 5-5 in their last 10. But like, you see how packed this little like dense area is here. They need to start trading some wins to get up here and in here. And I think they're delusional enough to think they can win a playoff series if Giannis is back, right? So they're playing to play into this play-in stuff. So I mean, I wouldn't be crazy. I wouldn't call you crazy if you thought Giannis could get to 30 tonight. Maybe 30 is a little bit of a stretch, but if I go back and I look at the time machine here from Add More Funds, like you just see this stretch right now, 25, 25, and then what's this last like chunk here? Nance played the last chunk, an extra 6 minutes. Like maybe he comes out of the game shortly for like a minute or two here and then plays another 4 and gets to 30. So, I mean, 30 minutes of Giannis tonight without Kevin Porter Jr. when they're trying to win a basketball game, or 30 minutes of SGA against a competitive Knicks team in the Garden. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, good shout from the Gale here. Just going back to, I missed this one, going back to the Ant Edwards conversation, where it's just like the Q tag takes us off the best play of the night. Yeah, fully agree. Like Ant was my 104, 103, 104 yesterday. And I had a bunch of them early. And then I kind of was like, okay, now I just got to play the catch a faller game instead of just trying to get overweighted, because it shifts the dynamics of our rooms, where it's like, if I just keep pounding the table to take Ant, it's like bad process, because I'm not going to encapsulate the fallers that I know are going to exist in other rooms. And I'm making worse projecting teams, even though I love the play and he's the high scorer. It would have brought my cash line up really high if I just kept pounding with Ant. But yeah. Anyways, back to the first round here, like loaded first round, right? JB, you get the second night of the back-to-back Hornets there. I read Mike Zakarian's email this morning. He was really in on JB. I could see it, but he's going to get some like difficult-ish on ball, probably from Bridges. Yeah, no Grant Williams tonight, which makes Miles Bridges minutes safer. Things I never thought I would say out loud. But that's been a true push-pull dynamic thus far and makes him a little bit of an interesting scroll tonight. Also, Boston gives up a lot of catch and shoot, right? They protect the paint really well, but they give up a lot of catch and shoot, and they just want to trade threes with you. Well, who rains more threes than anybody in the league right now than the Charlotte Hornets? So, yeah, this one could be, play a little bit higher than the total just because of the matchup implications of like them just trading threes back and forth. And that's bullish for JB and other pieces on the Hornets there. And then Kawhi, man, you get Kawhi versus the Pacers. Kawhi's doing a little bit of everything right now. Garland's back in there, but he only played 20 minutes first time out there. Yeah, I mean, you can make a case for all of these guys here, in my estimation. Like Clippers are 12.5 point favorites at home in a pace up spot against a bad Pacers team. Like, yeah, maybe Kawhi's projection can come up, even if he plays 32 minutes. I could tell myself a story about everyone here. I think you should probably just draft it as Maxey is the 1-1, but then the next 5, if you wanted to mix and match them as you see fit, have at it, man, because I don't have a good answer for you. But I think there's a clear line in the sand after Kawhi, and then there's another big tier, and this next big tier is really fragile. Like it's really it's really shaky, Like Klingon gets a really good matchup against a team that is not very big in Memphis, and it's Memphis on the second night of a back-to-back here. But you guys know how I feel about when Time Lord's in versus when Time Lord's not in on Klingon. You can just pattern match the box scores, and you could tell me which games he was clearly there for and which games he clearly wasn't there for. It's like that cut and dry, right? Yeah, the one last thing I wanted to say about Maxey, just in general, like it's an obvious smash spot for him against Utah, but like Maxey's splits, like we keep noting, are a lot better with him, Embiid. That being said, he plays more minutes when Embiid's there because they're in more competitive game environments more frequently. So there's a little bit of noise in the sample, but just in general, Maxey has been much better alongside Embiid, but it's Utah, right? So there's not a ton to be scared about. I think this might be the first time in my life I've ever said this, but I think I might be team Karl Anthony Towns over Jalen Brunson tonight with no Mitch Rob. They're going to need him to be out there. They're going to need some size. They're going to need that matchup with Hartenstein revenge game on the other side and Chet on the other side. I don't know. Plus the on-ball stuff for Brunson is a very tough matchup with the combination of Kaysen and Dort and Caruso, etc. But like, man, this next tier is very fragile. So it's a clear tier of 6, and you can mix and match it as you see fit. Okay, the rest of it we'll talk about as we go game by game. The other two like big ones are obviously just the Q tags on Pascal Siakam and Denny Avdia. Denny Avdia trending towards playing would be like my kind of answer to the thing. Similar ramp up as last time. He's been practicing. There were quotes that he was going to play or would be able to. He's still going to be on minutes, but he's going to project better than the mid-tier right now. So if you want to just keep pounding him at like 15 through 18, like that seems very viable to me, because the other guys that are getting pushed up right now are very fragile. Like, it's Quentin Grimes, who I put on the cover before the VJ was ruled out, let the record state. But like Quentin Grimes, and like people are going to be like jamming these, Quentin Grimes showed us big time ceiling last year, at the tail end of last year when he was playing quote unquote by himself. But like the fragility of his projection versus like Denny Avdiaz is, noteworthy, right? So I'd be taking some swings on Denny. The other, devil on the other shoulder is like, why would you play Denny right now? Like, why would you have to play them against Memphis on the second night of a back-to-back? Yada, yada, your 10-point favorites on the road. Just let Denny, rest a bit. Like, I don't know. But I think Denny's been working towards coming back tonight. So I'm playing Denny as in. Pascal Siakam, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. Nembhard, I have no idea. They're playing double games in LA. They're playing Wednesday night and Friday night. They play the Lakers on Friday night. I have no idea. Those two guys are probably going to play one of the two. But yeah, I got no idea. I got no idea. So people are drafting it as if he's playing and taking him in like the 5th round. I think it's fine for the swappability. I think it's fine if he plays there. He hasn't played in 4 games. Maybe he's limited to 28. Yeah, but like what I've noticed with the Pacers just in general is when they play their guys, they do actually play their guys. Unlike, the Grizzlies, who play like 20 minutes each. Like if you look at the Nembhard box scores, when he plays, he actually plays, like he plays these 29s, 27s, 29s. They're not like 35s or whatever, but we can go back and look at these box scores and look at these games in the time machine here and just get a feel for it. Let's do it real quick here. Take a look at the Pacers here and just see like, hey man, they lost by 20. They lost by 20. They lost by, like it's like, the same pattern emerges over and over again where they're losing big time here and then they just don't get that tail end run. Nembhard just doesn't get that last stint, right? Like there's that missing 6 minutes. So at least when they play, they do play. So that's the nice thing I could say about Nembhard and Siakam. I don't know if they're going to play tonight, but presumably they're going to sit one of the 2 games in LA. But I do think the Pacers and the Bulls, and who else was I thinking about last night? The Nets. Of the tanking teams, and I would say the Pels. I would say of the tanking teams right now, the Bulls, the Pacers, the Nets, and the Pelicans are the most like ethical tanking teams. And they're playing their guys and like actually playing them when they play them. They might do some funky shit with some rotations. They might do some soft minute capping with Siakam or something like that. But like for the most part, it's been like pretty ethical to the eye test. The Grizzlies are just like 20 minutes a night guys. The Mavericks have been way, way, way too banged up and hurt with guys coming in and out of the lineup to genuinely know. Plus, they're on like an 8-game road trip right now, so it's hard to tell. The Jazz are assholes. The Kings, they only play their veterans like 20 minutes to start, and then they just play Nick Clifford and Maxime Reynaud the whole game. So they're unethically tanking, but at least we know what they're doing from a pattern matching standpoint. And then the Wizards, your guess is as good as mine, because sometimes Bub plays big time. Sometimes Bub doesn't play big time. Sometimes Will Riley plays 30. Sometimes Angel Reese's brother plays 30. Like it's just, yeah, we don't really know with the Wizards. So I think that was just kind of like a good macro mindset and the way I'm thinking about things right now. Anyways, let's rip it. We'll do a quicker version of game by game because I've talked way too much already, but as I'm prone to do. Back to the beautiful unabated interface here. First game at Madison Square Gardens there with the 222.5. Thunder, 4 points to the Thunder. Both of these teams on back-to-backs. But as I mentioned before, SGA and Isaiah Hartenstein did not play last night. So the Thunder side, we're going to have no AJ Mitchell, no Topek, and no J-Dub. A couple other G Leaguers kind of mixed in there. And then on the Knicks side, you have the G Leaguers listed questionable, which is kind of interesting because they're not a team that usually does that. So a little bit of Windhurst there. But no Miles McBride, who's done until the playoffs, and then no Mitchell Robinson on the second night of the back-to-back there. So I kind of said my piece on the top end of the draft board on the Knicks side there. I do begrudgingly say that I might be Cat over Brunson tonight, but I think they're both in a same tier, and they're both kind of in a tier by themselves. If you wanted to put Klingon in that tier, I wouldn't fault you, but I think with Time Lord there and, just the bodies that they have available tonight, if Denny Avdia plays, it doesn't feel like I want to be like crazy overweight Klingon at the 1-2 turn. Next up would then just be like this mix here of Hart, OG, and Bridges. I don't think you can go below that tonight, especially against OKC. They have a really good defense. We could talk about the rotations and how they're going to break out. And, Alvarado might play a little bit more on the second night of the back-to-back with the second unit. And Huck Porty might be expanded a little bit. There's a non-zero chance that they could do like Duara starts alongside Karl Anthony Towns and do something like that to match Big. They've done it in the past, but I don't think any of it's worth talking through. I think they just run with this starting five, and then they just go, here are your five. And I think it's really hard to parse through which of these guys to take, but I would rank it Hart, OG, then Mikal. Totally fine with OG and Mikal in the last round. Hart, I would not be like crazy overweight just because the OKC matchup. It's just not a great matchup for. It's not a great matchup for anyone who's a handler and anyone who's playing against the wings. Basically, would be like the synopsis of it, right? Trying to think who else I would throw in this. Nobody. Okay, let's go to the Thunder side here. Just note that the Case and Wallace role, it changes drastically when SGA comes in there. I watched a good portion of last night's game, and they do really rely on Case and Wallace to kind of do his best SGA impersonation in the first unit nowadays when SGA is not there. So this role definitely is real, and it has changed. But then as soon as you introduce SGA back into the fold, well, Case and Wallace just becomes the guy who leads the world in steals. Like, that's just kind of how it is. So I'm okay with Chet. I mean, we haven't seen Chet ceiling in a while, man. We thought it was a smash spot for him last night. He only plays 25, which is bullish for his availability today. But we got the Hartenstein revenge narrative. Feels okay if you want to play it in the last round. He's still on minutes. They are monitoring him. It's been openly stated. It's like a soft cap, 25. We did see him win a slate in that Joker matchup. I don't know, man. It feels pretty flory. But it is a revenge game. It is in the Garden. I don't know if those narratives matter to his teammates or to him. But hey, maybe he gets a couple extra left-handed floaters in the lane tonight because of it. I think you could probably still play Kaysen on a 6-game slate. I think it's totally fine. And then Jay Will, you'll see that he gets these spikes of these 32 minutes, these 25s, these 35s when Hartenstein's not around, and then he goes back to these 17s and these 16s when he is around, or one of the bigs isn't around. So I don't think you can play anybody else here. This is kind of like the deepest iteration of their team we've seen in a while there. I think it's probably just around this. And SGA is a mix and match guy for me at the top. I think he probably is my 102 tonight, but him and Giannis are kind of like a little bit fragile because of the minutes, where if things go wrong for their team, they will be the first ones to get capped like pretty early. That being said, I think they both want to win these basketball games tonight. So yeah, probably just 4 for me on the OKC side. Underweight Chet. at the field or slightly overweight SGA would kind of be my stance. And then Hartenstein's like a 8% guy in the last round, if I'm being generous. Let me pause for a half second and take a sip. Oh, baby. Gransley's got me. He's got me covered right now. Jalen Johnson, home state narrative. J-Dub greater than Kaysen? Yeah, for sure. Like, this is like 1,000%. Yeah. The reason the Kaysen narrative exists right now is because J-Dub hasn't been healthy and hasn't been playing, right? Unless you're talking about Jay Will, then I don't know. Jay Will was the guy last night, 7% owned in the main. Benny Math, legit first revenge game indeed. Let's go. Yes, Eggers, I got you covered, bro. The people are in on the Benny Math revenge. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Next game up, Hornets and Celtics. We talked about it from a macro a little bit there, that it feels like a good JB spot, and it feels like a good catch and shoot spot on both sides there. Lowest total on the slate, though, 214 and 7 by way of the Celtics. Celtics a little more rested than the Hornets. Hornets are on a back-to-back. Kada and JB also sat out the last Celtics game, so there's that. They're double rested if it is such a thing. On the Hornets side there, G Leaguers listed out, and then Grant Williams will not play the back-to-back, and Tijan Salon will not play the back-to-back there. And then the Celtics are really clean, which means Jason Tatum is the only one on the list there. Winhurst up that he returns on Friday. Celtics are, as we know them, it is going to be just draft these three and then make a decision on the next two. We saw a monster game from Hugo Gonzalez, 52 fantasy points in his bag. Everybody jammed Vooch on that slate, and they were like, oh, Vooch will start without Kada, and Vooch is the best play of the night there. And Vooch had, a pretty solid night, 29 fantasy points, 26 minutes, but he still didn't get crazy expanded. And who did they rely on? Hugo Gonzalez, man. 35 minutes of Hugo Gonzalez. Unbelievable stuff. 5 stocks, a double-double. Just want to give some love there. Probably not playable tonight, even on a 6-gamer. But man, he might have earned some more minutes. He might have earned a start over Sam Hauser. Who knows? Maybe he earns a start over Baylor Shireman because of that effort that he put out. But this team's pretty full, man. Both these teams are pretty full, with the exception of the Grant Williams and the Salon stuff that I was just talking about. But this is a fun basketball game from a real life perspective. It is not the nationally televised game. The early nationally televised game is that OKC versus New York game. That is one of the 2 ESPN Wednesday night games this evening. But yeah, I look at this and I go Kada versus Moussa Diabates. A lot of people were in on Diabates last night, and they're going to be soured to go back to him tonight. And rightfully so, man. These teams kind of like Spider-Man meme right now, where it's like the first unit of the Hornets has performed like so effing well. This team is back to 500. They're like 15-2. They have the highest EPM as a starting unit with those 5 together. So like, man, they're clicking right now, and it's Spider-Man meme of nobody wants to attack in the paint in this matchup. Nobody wants the bigs versus the bigs in this because they both protect the paint well, and they both in particular the Charlotte side rebounds really well, especially on the defensive end. So it's kind of one of these, like, we could see an ugly basketball game where people are having trouble getting to the rack, or we could see like a game that gets like the lights shot out from, they just go, hey, well, we're not even going to bother trying to penetrate and attack the paint today because we know both teams are good in the paint, and let's just find guys in the corner all night long, right? So I could see this going one of two ways, and that's why I led with it off the top of the show there, that I was like, hey, man, this might be like a half decent spot for just like catch and shoot to play over the total. So I don't know, a little bit of bro science, a little bit of just, what I was seeing. Melo played very, very well last night. I guess we're talking about the Celtics side in general there, but Yeah, I would cap it here. I wouldn't play Vooch tonight just because I don't like the matchup, but he could be like a stretch five that, brings bodies out of the paint. But yeah, I would keep it kind of at this, and I'm not in love with the Kata stuff. I would probably be scrolling past it. I know people will be enamored with the 62 fantasy point box score there, but that was a much more desirable matchup than what we're going to be facing tonight. He can definitely still get home in 28 minutes on a 6-game slate, but I like Derek White at ADP tonight. I like Peyton Pritchard returning to that 6-man role, blah, blah, blah. I think it's all good. I think Peyton Pritchard, I had him ranked at like 18, so I had him a little bit above. Derek White, I had a little bit below. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting debate. If we got the active tag on Denny Avdia right now, would you rather play Derek White or Denny Avdia tonight, knowing that Denny Avdia is on minutes? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a really, really interesting debate as we get deeper in the day, and kind of just speaks to the fragility of the whole of basically every play in the middling rounds outside of the top 6 in the first round. So I'm just putting it on people's radars. Brandon Miller usage rate has been really nice. He had foul trouble last night, so you only see 21 minutes, but still had 35 fantasy points. There, had the 3 stocks. Usage rate is very, very strong, like top 20 in the NBA kind of thing. Melo, rising tide that lifts all boats. He's just been very, very good, but he played the most minutes out of everybody last night. And we like to note when Melo gets managed on these back-to-backs, right? But this is a pretty important game for the Eastern Conference. It's a pretty important game for the Hornets to continue to move up. And man, they're pretty close to getting to that, like, out of the play-in. They're 500 right now. They're in 9th place, but like we're talking like 2-3 games and they can catch the Sixers, like Hornets are on one right now. So watch out. Whether they can make any noise in the playoffs or not, who knows? But I think it's a good catch and shoot. So I'm taking the 3 guys who lead the world in 3-pointers together. I'm fine with it. I think Brandon Miller is a little bit closer to Melo than ADP would indicate. I am a little scared Melo on the back-to-back after playing 29 and leading the team there yesterday, but I'm good with it. Kahn played a little bit later into the ball game than Melo did. So he played 31, but young legs, part of the rookie of the year conversation, and it's a good 3 matchup, and he leads the NBA in 3-pointers. So why not play Kahn? And then my one kind of like sneaky scroll here. Oh, sorry. My one other note was they didn't have Kobe White last night, and I think that's why they felt more comfortable expanding Melo a little bit, knowing that Kobe White tonight could take a little bit off of his plate with the second unit. So there is a little bit of fragility in Melo in that second tier with Kobe White returning this evening. He's not going to take his job or anything like this. I'm just talking, 16 to 20 minutes of handling of a guy who, when he gets hot, can shoot a little bit. It just factors into the rotation, right? Miles Bridges is a nice scroll tonight. I like Miles Bridges tonight. And I don't normally like Miles Bridges, but if you're going to give me discounted ownership on him, you're going to give me, 30 minutes. He's going to draw the toughest defensive assignment, as in he is going to be the one doing the tough defending. He will be on JB, right? So he's going to be out there a lot to be defending JB. I don't know, man. Like, his minutes have been kind of down since he came back. Then they ticked back up, and then there's some push-pull with Grant Williams playing the 4 / if Grant Williams plays like some backup 5 or some small ball 5. There's been a little push-pull with Miles Bridges. You take Grant Williams out, and then you put Kobe White in, and I think that's a little bit of a boost for Miles Bridges. That's how I see it. And that's a little bit of a knock on some of the handling for Melo, especially on the second night of a back-to-back. So I'm taking some shots on Miles Bridges just for the quality of player that he is in the last round there. You could play Musa tonight. The minutes are going to be decently safe. It's a bad spot. It's a bad spot for both of the 5s going against each other. But if either of them pop off, nobody's going to be surprised. And Musa's free, So I think it is 5 draftable, but these two are like, 7 to 8% owned scrolls. And the band at the top is where we kind of want to focus our attention. All right. Highest total on the slate here is the Sixers and Jazz, a 237.5 there, and 8 by way of the Sixers. Sixers had VJ Edgecombe. First and foremost, Sixers got their doors blown off last night, and that led to some decently capped minutes, in particular on Maxey. So let me just show you guys here. They played the Spurs last night. There was foul trouble early. 3 fouls for Drummond, the king of the quick ones here. We talk about the quick ones and guys who have a propensity to foul going up against Wemby. And what happens? Drummond gets 2 quick ones. Then he plays a short stint. Then he doesn't start the second half. And then they get blown out. So he only plays 5 minutes. Much better spot for Drummond tonight, but we'll talk about that in a half second. Maxey only plays 25 because they get their doors blown off and they go out like this. VJ leaves the game and then doesn't start the second half and then doesn't come back in the ball game. Some speculation that, hey, maybe he was going to come back in the ball game. It was just because they were getting blown out. And then we get an out tag on him today. So that was obviously not true. Cameron Payne is just eating some garbage minutes for this team now and plays 25 last night. Watford, same idea. They came out with a report at the start of the game for some reason that Justin Edwards was going to play, quote, starters minutes. So he leads the team with 26 there, despite not starting, but winds up playing starters minutes. This is Maxey tonight. I just wanted to kind of like give you guys like the lay of the land there to what happened. This is Maxey, 101, 102, whatever you want to do. He's going to outproject the tier. It's Maxey night, and then what else, right? And they're probably going to have to start Quentin Grimes and run him big minutes. So he's going to outproject where he's going. We haven't seen it in a while. There is a lot of blind faith in just Utah being bad and that the Sixers guys can find success here. It's going to be Drummond starting again, and hopefully he doesn't, get into foul trouble or anything like that. But he has Filipowski on the other side. So we love to attack that matchup. Filipowski's been cut into by Kevin Love a little bit in recent memory, but that's kind of a separate conversation. But you have 2 bigs who have a large propensity to foul going up against one another this evening. Like they're both like top 20 in the league in fouls in per 36 or something like that. Like I think they're both in the top maybe 10, definitely at their position in the top 10. I was looking at it earlier today. And then the question becomes like, what else can we play here? And I think if you're searching for ceiling, it's Barlow and Watford would be the next 2. Those would be your contrarian pivots because everybody's going to be jamming Grimes and Andre Drummond right now. That's who's going to get jammed. That's who's going to get steamed in the rankings. I haven't looked at anything, so I don't know how far they will be up in the ETR stuff or anything like that, but they're going to get jammed, man. And I guess the pivots are Dominic Barlow, and we've seen ceiling from Barlow, right? Like we've seen, 28 minutes, 33 fantasy points. If you scroll back far enough, I guess it was maybe 7 or 8 games ago, he had that big ass 50 burger when Embiid wasn't around as well, right? So Barlow at the 4 could be a nice one tonight and not afraid to run him deep. And then Watford, who played into garbage last night. If things go, I'm not anticipating them going poorly because they're 8-point favorites for the Sixers, but it still is Sixers on the second night of a back-to-back and Utah's on the front end of a back-to-back. If something gets a little funny with people monitoring minutes either way, Watford stays on the floor and plays long tonight. So, I don't know who starts. I know it's going to be Maxey, Grimes, Barlow, and Drummond. I mean, I don't know that, but I think that. I guess it would be Justin Edwards next up as well. And we saw Justin Edwards play 26 last night. So maybe we can play a little Justin Edwards here as well. Because we want pieces of the highest total on the slate against the worst team on the slate. especially when minutes are going to open up. So, Justin Edwards can shoot the three a little bit. He played 26 last night. He's back up from the G League for a reason. Maybe they want to play him. I don't know how many games he has left on his two-way or anything like that, but I can't imagine he's close. So maybe it is just a night on a second night of a back-to-back where they rely on some of these like deeper down the bench guys. But for all intents and purposes, it's Maxey, it's Grimes, it's Drummond, and then it's a couple dart throws on these three. And I would probably rank them the way they are on the screen. Barlow, Watford, then Edwards. And I think Barlow's the most likely to start of the bunch. So if Watford was starting, I mean, it's kind of fun, but yeah, that's kind of how I would be treating it this evening. Trying to think if there's anything else to say on the Sixers side. I don't know. It's a good. Yeah, it's just a good spot. Philandia, never forget the 2017-10 Watford game. That's a great point, man. You want to talk about guys who have right tail outcomes? We've seen a right tail outcome from him. We've seen one of the most extreme right tail outcomes from him. So that's a great thing to reset there. Okay, let's move to the Utah side. Utah, just a little less clear. I guess I kind of like glossed over injury report here, but injury report on the Sixers side was very clear. It was VJ, Embiid, Paul George, and Oubre were out, and then that led me into the conversation. Sorry for screwing up the order. I sometimes get flustered when I'm on my own here. And then on the Jazz side, we get JJJ out, we get Kessler out, we get Lowry out, we get Nurk out, and then we got Vince Williams Jr. out. You could basically write those 5 in pen for the rest of the year being out. Maybe Lowry plays a game or two more, but yeah. So the big conversation here is, well, I would say it's threefold. It's threefold. So let's think about this. Keynote has now been back for 2 games, and he played full 30 last time and had a really strong game. That was very encouraging to see. He played well into the fourth. He almost accidentally got them in a position to win that game against Denver. I think he's entirely fine and draftable today. But the push-pull effect of that is that Isaiah Collier's minutes came way down. Collier only played 20 last time out. So Collier, who was like a guy we were taking really high, now gets a little bit of a dock. So we can go to the time machine here and look at this. Filipowski plays and closes and plays with 5 fouls and still plays 29 minutes. They only lose by 3 in this game to Denver. Ace Bailey is the safest of the minutes there. Keynote has the highest. I would argue that Keynote has the highest, ceiling outside of maybe Flip, but yeah. But they've kind of made it easier on us if we think Utah is going to play this a little more straight up, because then basically there's only 3 draftable guys. And then there's just the dart throw at Collier in the last round that Collier plays some overlap, or Keynote gets limited a little bit more than we saw last time if it's not as competitive a game, and that he runs garbage. So I would keep Collier in my pool tonight. I think Collier's a fine scroll. And then the other wrinkle is, we talked about it. I had my Windhurst up. I told you guys they were going to start Harkless. They ended up starting Harkless. Harkless did some guarding of Joker in that game. Just crazy stuff, weird stuff. But plays 26 minutes there, doesn't do anything from a fantasy standpoint. I don't think it's necessary to have him in your pools tonight. I think I would rather take the ceiling shot on Sensabaugh, scoring off the bench and playing garbage. But I think it's probably a bridge too far. So Keynote's the first guy to take for sure. Flip is, in a better spot than he was against Joker to not get into foul trouble and to stay on the floor and not get played off the floor by Drummond, even though he's awful at protecting the ring. rim. So I think it's a pretty fine spot for both Flip and Drummond tonight. So I'd be playing both of them. It's kind of Kev Love who would just like take some minutes and come in here and cut in with like this 24, this 20, this 9, whatever, based on how Filipowski's playing. Ace Bailey is very safe for minutes, feels like a totally fine 5th or 6th round click. And then a ceiling shot / like game script play would be like Collier. Like if you wanted to pair like Collier and Barlow, or no, that would probably be worse. Play Collier and Watford. That seems really sharp in the 5th and 6th round because they could both score well off the bench and then they could both play garbage together. So that one seems pretty sharp if you want to play Collier and Watford as a double scroll there. Yeah, that's kind of all I got on Utah, guys. Yeah, next one up is the Blazers and the Grizz here. Second highest total on the slate. Unabated line is 10 to the Blazers here on the road. And this is a 234 for the Grizzlies. We already had the Denny Avdia conversation. I'm leaning Denny Avdia in this evening, but he is listed as questionable. It is still the lower back. There is risk of re-aggravation because he's re-aggravated it twice now. So just be mindful. There's also a Chris Murray Q tag for an illness here. So that could shake up, some potential starting units for them. Still no Shaden Sharp, still no Caleb Love, still no Dame, and young handsome Hanson Yang is out for this one with the G League. So they're down to 2 centers. So that's something nice we could say. They're down to 2 at the 5 there, which maybe makes Klingon a little bit safer with just Time Lord behind him. But I don't think it particularly matters. Time Lord's only going to play his 18 or whatever behind him. Yeah, and then on the Grizzlies side of things, they played last night, second night of a back-to-back. Santi Aldama is still out. KCP is out. Brandon Clark is out. Cedric Coward, who returned last night, is now doubtful this evening. Ty Jerome is doubtful. Scottie Pippen Jr. is doubtful as well. John Morant is still out. Taj Gibson is out here, so they're still lacking big-time 5 depth. And then Zach Edey had season-ending, I believe it was ankle surgery or knee surgery, one of the two. But he's done for the year as well. Good Canadian kid. Unfortunate. So first thing up is the Blazers. I've already had my spiel here. I think Denny Avdia on a minutes limit could still flip ADPs with Jrue Holiday. I think he could flip ADPs with Derek White. Even if we knew Denny was only playing 28 minutes in this spot. I went back and looked, and one of the last times he came back from the back thing and he played, it was 25. So I don't know. 25 of Denny in the 3rd or 4th round feels like a really good rate spot. Feels like a decently fast game against a bad team that can't protect the rim. I think Denny's going to play, and I'm taking him in the 4th round as much as I can. But if you force me to take him in the 3rd, I'll take him in the 3rd too. So I'm fine with it tonight just because of how fragile that 3rd and 4th round already is. Gun to your head, who scores more fantasy points tonight, Denny Avdia or Quentin Grimes? They're going to be going beside each other in an hour, when you're drafting in these lobbies. They're going to be going beside each other. So why not just take the guy who was an all-star this year? I don't know. Yeah, it could age poorly, but you got Jeremy Grant to swap into. You got Scoot to swap into. You could go crazy time and swap into Time Lord just for the rates. You could go crazy time and just be like, Tumani's going to play 30 and swap into Tumani. There's not an abundance of swap options, I'm not going to lie, but they're not the worst in the world there. I think I would probably choose Grant of the bunch, but Grant is probably getting drafted in some capacity already. Already said my bit on Klingon. I think Jrue is just he's fine. He's fine. He's probably going to give you 36 fantasy points tonight because that's what he does. He's going to play 28 minutes. He will never play garbage. He won't close if they're up 15. He's going to give you 36 fantasy points. Unless he scores at a 1.8 fantasy point per minute in the first rotation, he's giving you 36. That's That's what's happening with Drew tonight. Maybe he gets an extra stock or two because there's some, youngins handling the ball on the other side. Yeah. So I'm going to be higher on Denny. I'm going to be kind of at the field and in and around on Drew and Klingon. I will not be jamming them. I will sprinkle just to scroll the fuck down. Time Lord can break the slate in 20 minutes. You saw it in a plus matchup against Chicago here. 22 minutes, 48 fantasy points. Granted, that was the game in which Klingon left or was ruled out for, but he still only played 22. If he somehow finds his way to like 16 to 18 tonight, he could give you an impactful score in the last round, just given how strong this matchup is. But most likely it's just 16 minutes off the bench. But I'm not forecasting like the 31s for Klingon tonight. That's kind of all I got to say on Portland. The Memphis side is kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. I know everybody wants to poo-poo it. They want to not wave it. They want to say everybody's only going to play 20 minutes tonight. Yeah, you're probably right. They put up 110 last night against a T-Wolves team, and then they had to kind of they kind of waved the white flag a little bit, despite it being like a close game. And as you guys could see, everybody plays 27, 23, 22, 23, 24, 21, whatever, right? Like that's what they're doing, right? But this is a 6-game slate. We kind of got to find something somewhere. And if you get no Ty Jerome, so all the doubtful tags, if you get no, so let me see if I'm going to refresh and see if they changed to doubtful tags for us on the underdog side. Give me one sec. Go to Memphis here. Yeah, there you go. So we got the Memphis doubtful tags, right? So you take all the handling of Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jerome out. You take the offensive impact of Cedric Coward plus handling plus usage out, right? Like Gigi's probably the safest bet for, production, like fantasy point per minute standpoint. Like Gigi's probably your safest bet. Like Walter Clayton Jr. in a similar setup recently, without all the handling there, played 34 minutes against the Pacers and set a rookie franchise record with 14 assists. This is a guy that people were excited about in best ball season. We just haven't seen it yet. He gets traded from Utah as part of the JJJ deal. I don't know. Maybe he plays a shit ton tonight. Maybe he doesn't. But I would take a shot or two because he could start at the 1. And this is a little bit different version of the Grizzlies where they're probably only going to have 9. Maybe they only have 8 because what I'm looking at right now, guys, is Omax. OMP signed a new deal, so he can play now. Like he doesn't have to worry about the two-way bullshit anymore, right? Taylor Hendricks is going to play some backup 5 / probably start at the 4, right? Gigi Jackson's going to start. Wells is going to start. And then Clayton most likely is going to start and be the lead handler and play the 1, right? You have Cam Spencer off the bench. And then I don't know. So Small didn't play last night and Meshack didn't play last night because they're on two-way deals and they have to manage their games. So now they both come back into the fold tonight. And then Ryan Rupert or whatever. I always fuck up his name. Don't make fun of me. He from the T-Will or from the Blazers side, he's a revenge game target here, but his 10-day is up. So we have to see if he does the 10-day thing or not. So I'm looking at 8 bodies right now and maybe 3 handlers because you have Walter Clayton who can handle, you have Small who can handle, and then you have Spencer off the bench who can handle. I don't know, man. There might be something here tonight and people are just not waving it because they say, oh, they all just play 20. And it's true. They do all just play 20. And it's not the best spot in the world because someone's going to get Tamani, right? Like someone's going to get the Kamara treatment on the other side, right? And that's probably Gigi Jackson. So if the only guy getting drafted is Gigi Jackson and he has the toughest matchup, give me Walter Clayton Jr. and see what happens. At least I've seen him go up to 30 in a very similar situation, right? So that's just me thinking out loud. If you look at the Walter Clayton Jr. one from the Pacers game there, that was on the first. I'll go back and show you guys just so you guys know I'm not full of shit and I actually do my homework. The Grizzlies accidentally beat the shit out of the Pacers in that one by 19. And what you see is starting, playing, and then being forced to close and play blowout because A, he's playing well, B, he's a young guy that they want to see what they have in him, and C, they don't have anybody else to play, right? So, I don't know. They even had more bodies available in this game, and I'm counting like 8 or 9 today. Now, roster moves can still keep happening throughout the day here, but I haven't seen anything yet. So, yeah. Hey, there's our guy, Prez JB. What's good, baby? What's good? I watch Prez JB on the ETR stuff every day. There you go. Appreciate you tapping in. Small should play tonight. Yeah, so I think the two-way guys play tonight, right? Like, I think Meshack and Small play tonight. So, I don't know, man. I would just leave the light on for taking like one of these guys in the last round. And you're going to be crazy contrarian. Like OMP is going to project the best, but his minutes are fragile. And then I would take a shot or two on Walter Clayton Jr. and be like, what if he plays 28? What if he plays 30 again? Because they only have 8 or 9 available, right? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I haven't done it yet in my drafts, but I promise you I will as the day goes on here. Next game up is the last of the nationally televised games. We talked about the implications for the Bucks trying to move up. This is a big head-to-head game for them in terms of the playoff picture, just to reset for everybody. Bucks trailing Hawks here, and they have no reason to tank, and they have every reason to play into the play-in game, and that's why they brought Giannis back. Yada, yada, all that fun stuff we already discussed. So no KCP tonight, KCP, no KPJ tonight in this one. Yeah, anyways, let's talk about it as I rip off the injury report for you guys. On the Hawks side, it is just this newfound Jonathan Kuminga Q tag. That is a midday downgrade, left knee inflammation there. G Leaguers listed as doubtful. And then on the Bucks side of thing, Kevin Porter Jr. is out with right knee swelling. And then everybody else is just G Leaguers and Taurean Prince, who we've dealt with all year. So these teams decently full, man. Decently full comparative to what we have seen. We did see Ousmane Dieng return to the starting lineup last game. That was at the expense of Ryan Rollins. Shout out Eggers in capital letters there. So talking about the Bucks side here first. Ryan Rollins is going to be a riser as the day goes on. We already had the Giannis spiel. If you think he's capped and you don't want to play into it, I get it, but it's the second highest total on the slate. This game means a lot. And he was pacing for 28, maybe even 30 last time out. I'm playing Giannis as my 3rd overall player today. I might even play him as my 2nd overall as the day goes on because the minutes for Giannis and the minutes for SGA are like pretty close, and I like the Giannis spot better. So that's just my bro science take on it. Ryan Rollins, capital letters here, is going to be a riser as the rest of the day goes on. It's not a great spot for him because he's going to deal with Dyson on ball or Nah on ball. Obviously, Nah hasn't been as good on ball as in previous years, but they're both still quality defenders there. And then can you go to anybody else? So something we talked about last time out was the Miles Turner stuff with Giannis being like a better fit. Miles Turner does nothing. He plays 18 minutes. He gets a little bit of foul trouble at the start of that one, if memory serves. Let me go back and double check my homework. No, he only had 2 in the first rotation, so it wasn't like full-fledged like foul trouble. It was just he didn't play the whole second half there when they opted to go a little bit smaller, and then it was garbage time, right? Yeah, because they were down 30 in that one, and that's why the Giannis minutes didn't catch up. Bobby Portis, dude, he's shooting it really well from three, just FYI, but he doesn't play enough minutes to matter. I don't think you want to play Turner. I think it's just these two, and I'm primarily playing only Giannis in this one. The Dang stuff is interesting, but he doesn't play enough minutes to matter. And just because we remove KPJ from the equation doesn't mean, all of a sudden we're opening up a ton more usage. A lot of that's just going to funnel to Giannis, man. So I think it's a Giannis spot, and I think it's basically only Giannis for me. Dude, leave the light on for Cam Thomas to come flame throwing off the bench one of these days, but the minutes are way, way down, and he's been shooting quite poorly in the last 5 or whatever since he has become a Buck. So there's that. But outside of that, man, I think Ryan Rollins is, I'm going to say it, Eggers, just for you, man. There he is in the chat. Just for Eggers. Ryan Rollins is a good pick right now until he gets fully steamed up the board. So I'm down with the handling. Atlanta isn't as cut and dry because Atlanta's been doing a lot of different things with their starting unit, and a lot of it will be hinging upon Jonathan Kuminga's availability here. But basically, we have seen CJ McCollum come back into the starting lineup there, and it's been the CJ, Dyson, JJ, and Onyeka. Looks like a half decent spot on paper for, the hand eyes. You deal with, some on ball, but the Bucks give up big time catch and shoot. And that is kind of Nah and CJ's best music. So I kind of like Nah and CJ tonight. I understand it'll look better if Kuminga gets ruled out because you just take a high usage guy away from the second unit and from some of their overlap groups. Dyson is crazy propped up right now because he had a really big box score with the steals game there. This game sets up more for catch and shoot, in my opinion, than the drive stuff. And Dyson can still get home, but I kind of like the other two guys more. I think Onyeka's ADP is way too high. But if you want to not get caught with your pants down and get 26 minutes of Onyeka, who's been playing very well, you have to take him at ADP. So I'll be sprinkling it, but I just think his ADP is bad today. I'm just going to say that. I think the ADP is bad. Jalen Johnson is in that top tier mix, but I'm actually playing. I want to say this with a grain of salt. I want to play Giannis over JJ today, even if Giannis is on minutes as we anticipate him being. That being said, if Kuminga was ruled out right now, Jalen Johnson's going to way out project Giannis, I would imagine, because you're going to make sure he has an extra 3.5 minutes, and the rates are going to look way better without Kuminga's usage in the second unit. Riche played garbage, which is just not overly bullish, and he's behind Kuminga, but he comes back into our lives if Kuminga is ruled out. And then, Corey Kispert can come off the bench and flame throw from three. Jacques Landale can hit a couple threes, but it's probably a bridge too far because I don't even like the spot for Onyeka, so I'm not going to play a backup 5 there. So I think my biggest takeaway is JJ is player 4 for me right now, but if Kuminga got ruled out right now and we know what midday cues mean, I would probably take him ahead and just get some exposure in that situation. And then I like the Nah and the CJ stuff, and I'm a little bit down on Onyeka and Dyson Daniels at their current price tags. So yeah. Last game on the slate, man. It's an island game that's an hour later. It's not a nationally televised game. This was the nationally televised game. We'll talk about the Pacers and how the Pacers are on this West Coast swing. They play the Lakers on Friday night, the game that we're going to be at. So this is a 12.5 for the Clippers here. Everybody wants to talk about the Benny Math revenge, but what's going to drive this a lot is the availability of Nembhard and Siakam, right? We had the conversation at the start that at least when the Pacers play their players, I imagine they'll probably still say there's some kind of limit on Siakam, but at least when they play them, unlike some of these other teams. So 28 minutes of Siakam, is that enough to win the slate from the 5th round? Maybe. But I'm not playing it tonight. I was playing Siakam in the 6th round, basically for swaps only. Jarris Walker doesn't get drafted every single time, so he's a really easy 1-for-1 swap for Siakam if Siakam doesn't go. But yeah, 227.5 here, 12.5 by way of the Clippers. Clippers, really clean injury report. No John Collins and no Bradley Beal, who's done for the year. And then the Pacers are a little bit more muddied because they have the Siakam one that I noted there. They have the Naismith Q tag. They have the Nembhard Q tag. Johnny Furphy's done for the year. Tyrese Halliburton obviously hasn't played all year. And then the G Leaguers are listed with the Q tags there in Ethan Thompson and Talon Peters. Dude, I was looking at G League stats yesterday just because I was just thinking super deep through the upcoming Dog Bowl player pool there. And I was really surprised to see how good Ethan Thompson's been from a scoring perspective in the G League. I don't know, just putting that on people's radars because it might matter in like the dog days of March upcoming. Probable tag for Obi Toppin, who's still on a slight limit, but started 2 games ago or last time out. And then Zubac is out still here as well. So a lot of moving pieces on the Pacers side. We'll start there. I think what you should be doing right now in the draft rooms is drafting Siakam in the 5th round and then taking some Nembhard in the 6th and then swapping off of it. They're going to play either this game in LA or they're going to play Friday in LA. And it's just, what combination of that are we going to get? I don't like playing any of the 5s when all 3 of them are there. Just the combination, just having to decide whether to, I kind of list like Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker as like small ball 5s, but they're like 4s, right? But like when there's all 4 of these guys, it's really hard to look at anyone other than just Jarris Walker because the minutes are the safest of the bunch, right? Like maybe getting a little bit of J Huff today, but so much of that is push pull with Micah Potter. So yeah, I don't know. Potter's like their big time tank it up guy. Like this is their tank it up combo of like Walker and Potter to like close things out. Like that's their start plus tank combo. So they're 12.5 point dogs here. If the Nembhard and Siakam don't go, I think those would be the 2 that I would play, and those would be the swaps. But as of right now, I think you guys should probably, maybe mixing in a little bit of Walker in the last round right now is fine. But yeah, the other guy you could think about is potentially like Cam Jones. If you get all the Q tags ruled out, like you get the Naismith, Siakam, and Nembhard out, it's not a good spot for him. He's going to have to deal with Chris Dunn and whatever, but you might get, 28 minutes of Cam Jones tonight. You might get 32 like we saw last time out against Memphis. Cam Jones is kind of fun. They want to develop him. He could score a little bit. They never really expand Quentin Jackson's minutes. Like you guys could see, like, oh, he did get up to 30 in that Hornets game. My bad. But they haven't really been doing a ton of that. So I think Cam Jones, he's less fun than Quentin Jackson, but he seems a little bit safer if all the Q tags get ruled out. But for right now, it's Walker and the Q tags. And then once the Q tags get ruled out, it's playing into those swaps and like nothing's jumping off the page, right? Clippers side of things, Kawhi is in that big tier of 6 at the top that you can mix and match. If you want to flip the board in your drafts, I would think about flipping the board by bringing Kawhi over to the left side once or twice and just getting a little bit different combos, like pairing him with Melo on the left side of the board, because Kawhi, Maxi's going to out-project everybody by like three fantasy points, let's call it, or whatever. And then the next like big chunk of guys are all going to be like, I don't know, I'm making up the numbers because I haven't looked at the projections till we draft, right? Maybe 44 through 41, right? So yeah. Can't flip the board if you never get the 1-1 or the 1-2. Everybody's talking about the Benny Math revenge game here. I'm cool with it. It's a little expensive. It's a little frothy. The box scores have been a little bit all over the place. Clippers took care of business against the Pelicans. Was that last time out or 2 times ago? Last time out was the back-to-back against the Warriors. So they played a back-to-back, Pels, then Warriors. And then they brought Garland back for the second night of the back-to-back, and they left Benny Math off the bench. It was nice that Benny Math closed and led the team in minutes there, but they keep doing this Benny Math plus Garland Garland's probably soft cap yet again. Only played 22 last time out. Didn't play like the final like 15-ish stint. Or sorry, final 8-ish stint. My bad. Yeah, Jordan Miller just like fully went away. Yeah, the Penn State kid, Yannick. If you want to play Niederhauser in the last round there, he's like a decent rates guy, and we used to really like using fives against this Pacers team. So I'm scared of the Garland minutes, but from a name value standpoint, you can click them in the last round. I actually think Garland and Benny Math low-key pair like kind of intelligently. I thought Garland's ADP last time out was really, really bad. I think this time out, it's actually like palatable. I think you can pair the two of them together because they'll run that second unit together. I think you can also pair Garland with Niederhauser as like a second unit one because they were trying to develop that. 21 minutes, crazy rates, gets 40 fantasy points for that. I think there's a decent amount of stuff here. They're not going to run Brook Lopez deep in the ball game, and they're 12.5 point favorites, and they might even be bigger favorites than that if the Pacers rule some guys out. So if you wanted to play like YKN, have at it, man, in the last round. Like, why not? Or if you do like a 5-6 pairing of like Garland and Yannick, I don't know. Seems okay. I'm seeing the chat's calling Kobe Brown revenge game if he's in the starting lineup. I think it's fine. I think it's fine, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I get the other side of the coin, right? If you want to play that angle, but I don't know. It might be a little bit of a bridge too far for me, just given the depth that they have of like 4s and 5s and stuff. 26 minutes, 25 minutes, 31 for Kobe Brown. Yeah. All right, guys. That was kind of like all the draftable pieces and everyone we could talk through. Let's rip the drafts and see what they look like in real time. Fire up the old solver. All right. Okay, so first thing I'm noticing when we get the ETR projections going and the solver projections and the solver up here. Obviously, I have the variance turned up a little bit here, but as we suspected, Maxey out projecting this next tier by a more significant margin than I gave credit to be honest, but very tight band of projection for picks 2 through, or maybe more 3 through 6. This band of like 4 is really tight. And if you fudge the minutes of Giannis one way or the other, or if you take the impact of Kuminga out of the lineup on the Jalen Johnson projection, he could shift up. So, yeah, well, our assessment was correct. Brunson projecting a little bit lower than Cat. We like to see that because we were Team Cat today. Mello, yeah, like as we said, guys, this whole tier of like the clinging all the way down is just 30, 31, 30, 30, 30, 30. And then you get to the Denny Avdia if he plays ? Right? And that's why I was such a proponent of like Denny Avdia in the 3rd round or Denny Avdia in the 4th round. So if you're playing just the projection, you know, you're going to be taking him over this grouping. Let's see. Ace Bailey's minutes, pretty strong back here, giving him a little bump. The Knicks guys, even though the matchup isn't great, are pretty strong. The Quentin Grimes projection is huge, so the solver's going to suggest us to take him in like the 4th round. The Ryan Rollins projection, capital letters, he's going to be way pushed up as the draft goes on. Okay. I'm good with Jalen Johnson here. I'm good with flipping the board with Kawhi. I'm good with Giannis, and I think it's a really good spot for JB as well. All of these plays look really nice to me. Let's take the Jalen Johnson one just because if Kuminga gets ruled out, you're going to see a nice little boost to his, and he'll kind of like fortify himself as like the top of the board here. Yes, Jeremy. I'm going to do a marathon show today. I did not intend to do an hour and a half of basketball, but I just didn't shut up. But I'm still going to do a dinger. Yes, I'm still going to do a dinger for the people here. Eggers is saying we need a solo shot filled. Oh, baby. We need the solo shot filled. So if you guys are going in the lobbies here, solo shot is now up 10K to first, $75 price point. Holy shit, the dinger. The dinger's at 58%. I got to get cooking, guys. I got to get cooking. I think I'm done almost 70, but I got to get back to work here after the dog bowl. Speaking of dog bowls, Mr. Good Boy in the background here saying what up. Yeah, maybe I will do our solo shot here in a second. Maybe it'll. I gotta get this dinger volume up, and I want more people to join. We'll see. Karl Anthony Towns paired with Giannis. This is kind of where that projection drop off happens, guys. This is what we were talking about. I like this. He flipped the board from the right-hand side and pulls up Melo. I'm a little scared about what we talked about, the Kobe White impact and the Melo minutes from yesterday. I do think, as much as I'm not in love with Klingon, it is a decent enough spot to take Klingon right here. I think you can pair Klingon with Denny Avdia too, so I think it's totally fine if we want to still do the Avdia stuff. But look at this, man. Look at these value scores, and look at these, like, just these all projecting for the same in the middle here. You got to tell yourself some stories with your lineups. You got to start flipping around some patterns so that you don't fall into the same patterns as everybody else, right? Did we get a hoops? Eggers is telling me we got a hoops. I don't see anything in the Discord yet. What kind of hoops did we get? Oh, it wasn't a hoops. It was a hoops. But wow. Stephon Diggs released by the Patriots. Wow. Why? Interesting. Wasn't he like their only wide receiver? I'm good with Brandon Miller here. Wow, this is interesting. So it's telling me Denny Avdia or Ryan Rollins are the best picks here. Very interesting. All right, let's listen to the solver. Let's cook. Let's see what happens here. Let's take Denny Avdia. Let's get slappy here and listen to the solver here. This might be a little early for Avdia, but if he is playing, I did say that I would take him right in the Derek White tier. So maybe this is a move for later in the day. But yeah. Because he's a criminal. Fucking fantastic. Ooh, Patriots making room for Alec Pierce. Okay. B-Smurf says, welcome to KC. Okay. GreatFitPatriots.com. All right. Let's see what our guy Chris is cooking. He takes Brandon Miller. Totally good pick. Onyeka goes at 18 here and gets paired up with Dyson. There's Ryan Rollins in capital letters. We weren't going to sneak that one by Chris, apparently. So we're not going to get to do the full-fledged Solver Bro team. So let's see. Ooh, I like this. The solver is suggesting Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I did say I liked both him and CJ. I don't love pairing them with Jalen Johnson, but I think pairing one of them is fine. So we're making a little bit of a Portland bet right now. And then we are making a little bit of an Atlanta bet. Yeah, Goatnap saying Diggs news is crazy. I agree, man. I don't know why. That's wild. Yeah, maybe making room for an AJ Brown trade. I like that. AJ Brown to KC would be fun too. Yeah. Can't argue with any of that. Ooh, Cooper Flag. I was really hoping this wasn't going to happen, guys. I was looking ahead at the Dog Bowl slate, and Dallas is on the Dog Bowl slate. And I was really hoping we weren't going to get this progressive ramp up Cooper Flag stuff. And we got Q-Tag Cooper Flag for tomorrow. So we shall see. We shall see. CJ McCollum goes at 23. Quentin Grimes, that was going to be one of my picks we were thinking about. But I gotta go scrolling, guys. I gotta make some picks here. So if I was drafting without the stream right now, I think I'd probably take Siakam and then get the swap. But I am pretty scared about the minutes on Siakam, even if he plays. I think I kind of want to do a double scroll here for the community. Super duper, both players under 10% owned. Double scroll. The first one is going to correlate with our game stack that we got going right now. I mean, like, I know it's hard to pass on Benny Math right here, but we're just going to have to do it. I think Drummond's a good pick here too. I think Benny Math's a good pick. I think Drummond's a good pick. I think it's all good there. But we're going to go ahead. We're sticking to our guns, guys. What if Walter Clayton, with a 0 projection, starts and plays 28 minutes tonight opposite our Portland stack? What if that happens, huh? What if that happens tonight? This is actually a fun one from Evan. Evan saying the Patriots will be rumored in on every wide receiver and then just wind up with Romeo Dobbs. Good shit. Sanjay Rich is on. AJ Brown, you are a Patriot. That Diggs news is wild, though. Thought he played pretty well last year. Stayed healthy. Obviously, the off-season stuff to start the season didn't help, but it wasn't like, what was it? It was just the pink substance on the boat situation. Is that what it was? Jarris goes there. Ace Bailey for some good minutes. That seems fun. I think I'm going to take Andre Drummond here. Actually, no, I'm double scrolling. I promised you guys a bigger double scroll than this one. Let's go to the Sixers. Let's just say the Maxey wins out, some failure for the other guys, and it's Trendon Watford night. I like the Trendon Watford idea. Could start, could play garbage. It might be a bridge too far for these games, but hey, we got to show off a little bit on stream, have some fun. So we go Jalen Johnson, we go Klingon, we go Denny Avdia, and then we just pair a whole bunch of dumpster fires together here. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Walter Clayton, and Trendon Watford. Don't try this at home, guys. Don't try this at home. The computers will not allow you to do this. They will not. They'll tell you you're a moron for even considering doing such a thing. But yeah. All right, guys. That's the end of NBA. So if you are an NBA only guy, we say bye-bye. But stick around for some baseball. It's going to be fun here. We still got like 180 of us hanging out. So hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, all that fun stuff. Let's jump into the streets here. Let's go. Let's go hit a dinger. We are at dinger number. We were only at about 70 something. Nice. 7 more spots. Let's fill it up. Let's fill it up. Turn off my solver for this, but two reminders here. If you want a free overlay to use because the solver doesn't work yet with baseball, you can go ahead and download this one at easydfs.xyz. Drop that in the chat for everybody. That is going to be a free resource for you guys if you want to see where you're at with some of your combos and whatnot. So check that one out. But I do have ear to the street, words on the street the solver is experimenting with the potential of expansion into the MLB streets. They were experimenting with some of our exposures yesterday. So fingers crossed that the solver is going to cover more and more sports as we continue to go here. The dog's staring at me. He doesn't know that we still got to do a draft. All right, we got some friends and family in here. I see Jared in here. I see Goatnapped in here. I see Joshua in here. I see B Smurf. I see Slope in here. I see Eggers. I see the Icon. Let's get it. Turbotron's in here. Big friends and family draft here. Oh. So it's been a minute since we did a dinger. Obviously, World Baseball Classic starts today. They had some of the exhibition games over the last couple days here. Yeah. I'm trying to think of some things that have changed. Brenton Doyle sprained his wrist and then got an MRI, and it sounds like he's fine. And it was just a sprain. One of my highest owned pitchers has elbow problems and apparently pitched all last year with elbow problems because they were pushing for the playoffs, and then got an injection in the offseason, and now it's sore again. So that's not great. That is not great. And that is, of course, Hunter Green. I like Bobby Witt. I don't really want to fall behind at outfield in a stream draft room. And some of my best selections behind are going to be, some of my next best selections are going to be infield options. Let's flip the board a little bit here. Let's take Fernando Tatis Jr. Let's have some fun. Once upon a time, I thought Fernando Tatis Jr. could be like a 40-30 guy. Obviously not the best park in the world. But let's take Fernando Tatis Jr. Sometimes he falls back to the right-hand side of the board. Sometimes he hovers in the middle here. I do think there are some pretty clear and defined tiers that have emerged thus far. I do think it is a tier of 2 at the top with Ohtani and Judge. Then I think Soto is kind of in a tier by himself. And then it kind of becomes, do you want to play the health game with Acuna and the potential that he runs more this year because of the new first base coach and the healthy knees, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to play Acuna? Do you want to play the consistency and leadoff and home run role of Schwarber? Or do you want to play the infielder in Bobby Witt? Because if Bobby Witt had outfield eligibility, he would be the 3rd or the 4th pick every single time. And people might even get cute with it and take him, above Ohtani or Judge once in a while. But because of the big green emblem associated with his name, that doesn't happen. So it's just, do you want to do the positional sacrifice or not? And I do that more in the non-stream draft rooms without you sickos who are going to do shit like Eggers just did and pull up Roman Anthony and double outfields super early, right? That's why I didn't want to do the Bobby Witt draft here. And then there's like a big flat tier of like the J-Rod, Tucker, Tatis, and then how do you feel about Carroll's health is more or less like that tier, You could maybe throw Devers in there. You can maybe throw Jose Ramirez in there. You might be able to throw Yordan and Nick Kurtz. Damn it. I wanted Gunnar to come back. So we're going to have the ace option here for Scooball. I do not have a single Tyreek Scooball share in this tournament yet, and it is not going to start right here. Let's take Jackson Churio. He sleptwalked to 2020 in each of his first 2 years, despite missing some time. Lineup's pretty good. He's a lefty killer. Let's do it. Yeah, Jeremy takes Bobby, but then he backs it up with Hendo. So we'll see how he's going to land this plane, being so far behind the 8 ball now. Speaking of 8 balls, back to the off-field issues for Stephon Diggs. Goatnap says 26.5 million cap hit. Off-field issues too. Yeah. Yeah. That's a big number. Cal Raleigh goes with Soto. There's an interesting little pocket that I've noticed on the left-hand side of the board too that is just kind of always there. It's the three aces, and then it kind of stops at Wyatt Langford. Those nobody ever falls after that kind of like grouping. It's kind of interesting how that's happening. Yeah. Speaking of 8 balls, what are your thoughts on losing Jorge Polanco on the Mariners? I don't know, man. I think it's fine. People forget that, like, Jorge, though, like what he showed with the Mariners prior to the tail end of last year, or I guess most of last year, and the postseason last year, that he was pretty hurt. Like, he couldn't swing like one way for like a bit. So, yeah, there's still ceiling for Jorge. I like him. Pocket aces for Goatnap there. I think Crochet kind of is the end of the tier for me. I don't love PCA. PCA goes in front of us. I don't love PCA. I'm a little bit scared about Lindor's health, though it is bullish that he wanted to play in the World Baseball Classic and was petitioning for insurance to play in the World Baseball Classic, which means Lindor is like probably a little bit further ahead than we thought, which means the discount on Lindor is kind of nice. Let's take Garrett Crochet. I sometimes would do the Jackson Merrill stack here, just like kind of like a buy the dip, but you're not getting a discount when you pull up Tatis to do so. Randy Rosarina is just, he's kind of whatever. He's not going to give you average, but he's going to give you, some steals and some homers. 27 homers last year was a career high. Junior, I love Junior. I think he's a very good pure hitter. There's regression coming this year. 45 is, I don't think 45 is sustainable in that ballpark. Like, they played in a minor league ballpark last year in the super hot summer in Florida. Like, I just don't see how he goes from that environment to the Trop, which has people hate hitting at the Trop because of the batter's eye and because of the way the ball travels. Like, I can't just see him just going to the Trop and being like, yeah, I'm going to hit 40 still. Like, I don't know. Maybe he does have big boy power like that, and maybe some of the StatCast stuff will debate me on that. But yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, Turbotron, I mean, like, I think the Mariners did just enough this offseason, Like, I don't think they wowed anybody. I think the Brendan Donovan piece was probably a pretty strong move for them. I think they have like aspirations of Cole Young, emerging. Like, he's only 22 and playing second base. And the problem with Polanco is he can't play anywhere other than DH, and you don't want to play him at DH because you have Cal Raleigh, or first base, and they decided to go with Naylor instead, right? I think the one that kind of like hurts me is the Eugenio Suarez, but Eugenio has not been good in that ballpark like ever. So I'm kind of fine with them just being like, okay, we can get like this super util lefty leadoff guy with the Brandon Donovan deal, and he kind of gives you a little bit of defense, a little bit of leadoff. He's left-handed, and it kind of fills like the void of the Polanco, and then you don't have to give up first base or DH at bats because you would rather have them from Naylor and Raleigh. So, yeah, they're going to have a big mess of a platoon in the outfield with Canzone, Luke Raley, Rob Refsnyder, and Victor Robles. Like, that's going to be kind of like a dumpster fire. We could do Freddie Freeman, who's just a model of consistency, Ian Happ, who is the same but to a little bit of a lesser degree, or we could do Mookie Betts bounce back. Let's do Mookie Betts bounce back. Mookie Betts' ceiling was always higher than Freddie Freeman's ceiling, even in the MVP year. Although they were pretty comparable, let's be real. But that 23 steals was like a pretty huge anomaly there. Freddie's a little bit older. I don't know. Freddie, good Canadian kid, though. Kind of. Sort of. Good Canadian kid. But I like the Mookie bounce back stuff. That we talked about the swing speed stuff and the lack of, 1 mile per hour equals 7 feet. And then he was down 2 miles per hour, but he did start to get it back as the season went on. Baseball players will also tell you it's really hard to put weight back on in the middle of the season. That's why guys come in like a little bit thicker and then they wither it away over the course of the season. So Mookie coming in small and dealing with the sickness and down 10 pounds and then all of a sudden never being able to put on weight isn't surprising, right? So it's like, if Mookie puts on some weight over the offseason here, he could definitely return to who he was. Maybe not the full ceiling version of Mookie, but like, getting back to that like 25, 30 home runs territory, like 20, 27 home runs for Mookie and kind of hitting at the top of the Dodgers lineup every single day, putting kind of like the defensive stuff behind him now that he has some familiarity with the defense. We got this anchor ace build going on, but pitcher continues to fall in these rooms, just like these stream drafts tend to be. I mean, here we are, we're pick 54, and the Slappies have only selected 3 starting pitchers. So, Yamamoto would be fine here. A little bit of a discount on it, but seeing as though I already did the crochet thing, I think stacking Manny Machado is kind of like the chalk here. I'm going to take Trey Turner. I don't have a ton of Trey Turner yet. Kind of unfortunate that he got left off Team USA. But man, the steals came back in a big way last year. This is kind of like the old guy shortstops double bounce back build. So we'll go with that. Our guy Dirt Bike Davis, the resident expert in the dirt bike streets, gifting 1 Badge Bros membership. You love to see it. Thank you, my friend. Probably no more members only stuff this week, but definitely next week, multiple members only content. The rest of the content for this week, traveling tomorrow, then going to the Kings game tomorrow night. And then Friday, probably nothing because Pete is traveling. And then we're going to the Lakers game that night. So we're thinking Saturday afternoon, if we can get a viable setup going and a stream, it'll be a Hoops Dog Bowl breakdown. It'll be talking about the experience, that sort of stuff. That would probably be in the neighborhood of 1, 2, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's kind of like tentative what we're working on right now, guys. And then we are going to do the yacht party that evening. And then the drafts and all that stuff. It's daylight savings, the Saturday to Sunday. And then Sunday morning is the brunch drafts and then the watch party. So we'll be sharing clips and we'll be sharing stuff like that. But it's going to be a little more bare bones than in years past by the sounds of it. But hopefully we could still get a couple live shows going. I kind of selfishly want to do some live shows because I love doing it, but also just because it gives, a lot of the members of the community the opportunity to get on stream for the first time or talk about their experience. And it's not just our voices all the time. So I really like that angle of things. So hopefully we can make something like that work. God. Davis. Oh, he's talking about the dirt bikes. Good, clean fun. Kind of like what my guy Eggers is cooking right now. Gets a little bit of an athletics stack. That's kind of everyone's like worst kept secret that everybody loves that stack. And then pulls Roman Anthony to the right-hand side of the board. Gets a fall on Lindor and a fall on Neto to make it make sense. Joshua takes Butler there. We will see what the icon's going to do here. See what Jeremy does. He takes Logan Gilbert. Man, I like Logan Gilbert. I'm a Logan Gilbert guy. Jose Altuve had surgery in the offseason, but is allegedly fine. It's a pretty big break at outfield after him, and we already have Crochet. I think it's between these top two, and I think it's really close, but I'm going to opt for Jose Altuve here. Not a guy I draft a ton of. I'm just waiting for it to fall off the cliff. He's basically been a stack-only guy for me up until this point. But, yeah, we'll go ahead and take him there. Dylan Cease goes after. The Logan Gilbert stuff. Man, I was really high on him. I like Logan Gilbert. I think he's a very good professional-ass pitcher. He's very even-keeled. He has a great presence on the mound, great demeanor. I talked to him a couple times during some bullpen sessions and stuff like that. He's got an extremely regimented routine. He's very intelligent about his craft. I'm a little scared. I'm not crazy scared that one of the number one precursors to Tommy John surgery is forearm strains, and he dealt with a forearm strain all at the tail end of last year. So I'm pumping the brakes a little bit because Logan Gilbert and Hunter Green are two of my highest owned pitchers right now, and they're probably it's probably just not great, to be honest, but I do like them. Bregman's still a little bit underpriced. Naylor goes there. Caglione goes. We got the cover boy staring us in the face here. Jerkson Profar got suspended for the year, so he's off of everybody's boards. This is why I probably should have ranks in here, just in case we don't get caught with a Jerkson Profar share. I think this is probably this next tier is kind of meh to me. I like Vinny, but I prefer him when I stack him. I think Ben Rice is okay, but I'm scared that they got Goldschmidt for the strong side platoon or weak side platoon or whatever, however you want to phrase it. He's a lefty killer. I like Seager, but I have a lot of Seager and the health. Freddie Peralta, they went out, they traded for him. This GM has now traded for Freddie Peralta twice in his career, really believes in him. They've already named him the opening day starter. Let's take two pitchers here. You get a little bit of a discount on both of them and get it started here with two pitchers inside of the top 7 rounds, which is something I do sparingly, not all the time. I think there's some noise in the pitching samples, and I think about it in terms of advance rate data and whatnot. We did the show where we shared all of the charts from the Stacking Dingers guys. We shared all of the charts that suggested that two pitchers inside of the top 6 picks or whatever actually have performed quite well. But we were really spoiled last year that the top 3 pitchers off the board also finished as the top 3 pitchers. And hey, maybe there is that clear and defined a tier of the aces, but it's the number one most fragile position in, I wanted to say sport because running back's pretty close, but it's the most fragile position in all of sport. Maybe running back, but if the market is priced it this way, just play to the market. You don't have to be the zig guy. You don't have to zig when everybody else zags. You can win in different ways than just being contrarian, right? And I think we've been a little bit spoiled in our sample with the health of these upper echelon arms. Because if you go back like to the first, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, when the Dinger first dropped, like Garrett Cole was going in like the first round at like pick 6 and stuff like that. And like then he gets hurt and everybody's seasons were over, right? It's so hard to separate from a scoring perspective. And we've been like very lucky in the last 2 years with health at the top end of the pitching spectrum that it makes it look better than it actually is, like probabilistically, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm very interested to see where Hunter Green goes. This is the big nugget from this morning. That's why he's on the cover. Final 5 to 6 starts last year. He was pushing through pain for the playoff push. So we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, I think you can do whatever you want here. I think you can do whatever you want. I think DeGrom's fine. I think Strider's fine. I think Kirby is fine. I'm a little down on CJ Abrams. I only like Ben Rice when I stack, but we could backstack an outfielder. Let's take Jacob Marcy. I hate the Marlins ballpark and I hate their home. I hate their finals schedule, but a power speed combo guy who could hit high in the order for them this year. I mean, they still play whatever it is, 80 whatever games on the road, right? So, yeah. Yeah, we'll take Marcy there. We do not have a stack going yet, but we could backstack some stuff here. The reason I opted for an outfielder there, guys, is, well, Profar is obviously off our board. Adolis Garcia would have stacked with Trey Turner, which is a totally fine double bounce back, mini stack there. But if you look at this pocket of the draft board, you go all purple and green from here on out for a bit, right? So maybe doing like Ben Rice and then taking Trent Grisham the next time or something like that, we could have entertained, but yeah. Interesting to see. So Joe Ryan not healthy enough to pitch in the World Baseball Classic, but Nolan McLean has already been slotted in to start 2 games. So that's kind of interesting. Strider fastball velo is down. Says he's not worried. That's the little nugget on the site here. His fastball averaged 93.1 and touched 94.3. Like, peak Strider era. Granted, it's one spring start, first time out. He probably wasn't fully airing it out. But like, man, peak Strider era was like sit 98, touch 102. Like that's very distinctly different after. GoNab asking Zach Veen, unnatural growth hit the PEDs. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. 40 pounds of muscle is insane though in an off season, but both him and Roman Anthony look like superhumans now, and maybe they just got on that Tyler O'Neill train. I'm not going to speculate, but yeah. Kirby goes there, so that's a pretty good pick. I think it's probably pitcher in this range, unless we want to do Varsho and set up like some potential backstack stuff. But this is a really nice pocket of pitcher that I like to fall into. I think Mackenzie Gore is good. I think if you want to take the ceiling shot on McLean with these arms is good. Let's take Nick Pivetta. It's a boring pick, but I think Pivetta's like, he's a pretty good combination of like spikiness from a strikeout rate perspective, but then also floor because he pitches in a good home park and he's like a front end of staff innings eater. So I'm kind of in on Pivetta. I've never been like a huge Pivetta guy, but what I've seen the last like year and a half from Pivetta, I've really liked. Oh. No, I think it's a fine pick in the last round there. the fragility of the Rockies outfield is noteworthy. You know, like that could break a lot of ways. Like they got a lot of bodies for, I don't know. They love to just play bad veteran players and roadblock their young guys. But like, who do they got? They got Jake McCarthy, Jordan Beck, Willie Castro, Mickey Moniak. So that's 4 outfielders off the top of my head. Tyler Freeman, who can platoon with any of them. And then Brenton Doyle, who's like an everyday 7 center fielder. That's 6 outfielders. And we haven't even mentioned top prospect Zach Veen yet. So, I don't know. They're a weird team, man. They're a weird team. And maybe some of these guys play the infield, like just because they have outfield eligibility on our site doesn't necessarily make them outfielders. Like Castro can play the infield. Freeman can kind of play a util role and play a little bit of infield. Yeah, I don't know. Their glaring hole is like first base, though. Like they have a waiver claim first base from Miami guy in there. I can't even remember his name. Man, and they got Chris Bryant. This guy, Troy Johnston. And he's listed as an outfielder in our player pool as well. So, man, I don't like any of these hitters. I like Shea Langeliers, but I usually don't take catchers unless they stack. Like it's just kind of like a boring rule. Let's take Yuri Perez. Feels like a fun ceiling shot arm. We have a very stable top end core 3. We have Crochet as the ace. We have Peralta as a second, kind of like ace plus steady innings plus good team. You have Nick Pivetta for some spiky week stuff, but then also, you know, just longevity and durability. And then you take a shot on ceiling Yuri Perez, where Yuri Perez could easily be pitcher 45, but on a per game basis, pitcher 15. Or he could be pitcher 15 and on a per game basis, like pitcher 8. That makes sense. Just based on how the innings break and how long a leash he has in his starts and how electric the stuff is. But he's still very young. Still very young and still a Miami team that's not playing for anything. So it is a little bit scary when it comes to the shutdown risk. But like I don't even think he's 23 yet. I mean, maybe he's 23, something like that. There's your new Connor Griffin price tag. So he's up like 40 spots after homering a handful of times in spring training. 2 in 1 game there. He's a lot of fun, man. He's fun to get excited about, but it's a lot more fragile than that. Like, is Pittsburgh going to manage him? Are they going to manage him for 1 year of control? I don't know. I'm excited about him, but yeah, nice little stack there on the end. B. Dorand. I don't really know how to say it. It's probably just like an initial and a last name. Setting up that Pittsburgh stuff over there. We kind of got like a sweet spot for outfield here. I was taking Brenton Doyle in this spot like every time. I mean, maybe not every time, but like I believe in the glove. He also had some like off-field, like I can't remember if it was like death in the family or something like that. Like he had some mental stuff, but like there's no reason to think this guy can't go 20-30 again with a full slate of games, playing in Coors Field every day. When we're playing on the daily slates, guys, like Brenton Doyle in Coors is going to be fucking popping. He's going to be popping every day. He's going to hit third. He's just like, he's going to be popping, and I want to be ahead of it. You know, I was a little scared about the right wrist sprain and whatnot. He got lifted from the ball game, went for MRIs, blah, blah, blah. And now that it's just a sprain and he's just going to miss a couple days, I'm back in on it. I'm in on it. I like Brenton Doyle, man. I think he's the safest of the Colorado bats, period. And you're getting Colorado's, potentially combined 50 guy at pick like 120. This is a game of spikes. This is a game of how do you win this week? And he's the archetype of dude who can spike, and he's going to be out there. He's not going to get pinch hit for. He's not going to get pinch ran for, and he's not going to get his defense taken away because he's the best center fielder they have on the roster. So I'm in on it, man. Famous last words, though, because I had a very similar thesis to Nolan Jones the last year. So we shall see. We shall see. Evan was saying, circling back on the Betts stuff, on rates and barrels, they were talking about if Betts just increased his number a little bit from last year, he's back to a top 20, 25 hitter. Yeah, exactly, man. Fully feel about it. Fully feel that. Dirtbike Davis is asking, how many drafts deep are we? I think I'm 75. I think it's 75. Only been dingers thus far. This is interesting one, man. So we had Vlad Settler from FTN on the show. Very smart guy, longtime NFBC guy, big time grinder of these games. Let me make this pick. I'm going to set a little something up that I haven't done yet. We have a 4-2-5 build. So I think we have to deviate, or we don't have to, but we could deviate here and take a stick from the infield. I'm going to try and set up a little stack here and take Murakami first here. He's a guy that I do not have a ton of shares of. He's going to hit for power. I don't know much, like all I know is he interviews and he says power, more power every time. And I'm like, I'm fucking in on this guy. Go hit some dingers at US Cellular or whatever the fuck it's called now. Guaranteed rate, whatever. Go just rip dingers out of that park one time. Let's do a little fun stack in the middle here. There's a little 3-man stack with the White Sox that I'm kind of in on, but I haven't done a ton yet. But back to the question here. Yeah, it's been all dingers thus far for me. Okay, what were we talking about before? Okay, FTN, Jung Ho Lee. So Vlad shared his exposures the other day, and his highest owned outfielder was Jung Ho Lee. And that one caught me by surprise because I think of him as an accumulator. I think of him as very Stephen Kwan-esque. Maybe he is just Stephen Kwan, but you get a, 5-round discount. Kwan goes at 81. He goes at 136. I had only done Jung Ho Lee as parts of stacks thus far. So I think I got to reevaluate that just based on a sharp dude having him as his highest exposed outfielder. Because I don't know. Like I thought the defense of Harrison Bader would push him out of center field and Harrison Bader would kind of be like an everyday guy. But yeah, right-handed power plays way better in that park than left-handed power, especially like warning track power guys like Lee. Like he's kind of like a OBP guy, but I don't know. Oh, that's a no-no. Jurickson Profar going at 146. Dang, man. Hate to see it, Ghouls Bools. Nick Castellanos and Jurickson Profar living in the past. All right, so we set this up nicely. Hopefully Jared doesn't take our guy here. He shouldn't. He's got 5 pitchers, 4 infield, 3 outfield. So I think we should be pretty good here. But we do have a contingent plan if he does He times out and takes Sal Frelick. Needs a little bit of help there. Man, Blake Snell's really interesting because in a weekly scoring format and like a per innings rate guy, like Blake Snell he's SP 38 here. In the starts that Blake Snell makes this year, he's going to be like SP2 on the slate, and he has a very high variant profile. He's he's just got a lot of risk in the portfolio in terms of like checkered injury past. He starts very slowly and takes a long time to get ramped up. He has a very high walk rate when things go erratic. But when things go right for Blake Snell, like he's like a top 10 pitcher in the game, when things are mowing for him. So it's very interesting just because he's not going to be ready for the start of the season that he's falling. But a lot of that was already baked into his price tag. So, I mean, in this format in particular, Blake Snell as like your fifth pitcher, even if you only get like 3 usable weeks from him, but one of them happens to be a 2-start week in the finals, I'm in on it, man. I'm good with it. Like, yeah, I think, man, he's big time. MCJ is saying that he thinks all the main giants have nice price tags. Yeah, I've had blinders on to that, man. Yeah, that one's been tough. Will UD remove Profar from the ADP? I'm not sure. I think it'll naturally get filtered out, but hey, if you're hanging out here, you're watching this show, you're drafting these games, you don't want him to be removed from the ADP. You want a dead roster spot on someone's team in every single pod that you get. But technically speaking, should he maybe have an out tag? Yeah, maybe. But that being said, they can still appeal the suspension. Now, I don't think anything's going to come from it because he's a repeat offender, blah, blah, blah. But, it's not dead yet. They could still appeal and, maybe he winds up playing a couple months. But back-to-back years where Jurickson Profar has been the worst ADP on the board for more reasons than one. And yeah. So as I did, guys, as I said, I was trying to set up this Murakami plus Coastal Montgomery one there. Yeah, I was talking to Scott the other day, who is a dance champion and a World Series of Poker main event champion. And he was like, man, I can't believe the Coulson Montgomery price tag. So he got my interest perked. I'm in on it. Yeah. Okamoto feels like a good pick here. I think he's kind of underrepresented because of the obscurity. Simeon, I usually only use as a stack partner. Glasnow's a similar idea to the Snell bet. I like Shane Baz, though. I've been taking Shane Baz over Trevor Rogers. I don't know if that's good or not, but like Shane Baz has just always intrigued me. He played for the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic when he was like just an emerging like prospect. I've always thought very highly of Shane Baz, and now he goes to an organization that wants to win right now, that is not going to treat him with kid gloves, and they're just going to let him go out there and rip. I know we saw Kyle Bradish look good at the tail end of last year. I know we saw Trevor Rogers look good at the tail end of last year. If you were like gun to your head, like everything goes right for the O's this year, and who's starting game 1 of a playoff series, I think I'd take Shane Baz. I know they added Chris Bassett for a little bit of depth and stuff. I like Shane Baz, man. I can't kick it, man. I can't kick it. Yeah, here you go. This is a good point here. Yeah, good point. Like Baz's extreme home run fly ball rates have come down, and now he's out of the bandbox that was Tampa last year, the minor league stadium. Exactly. And I mean, there's this evergreen saying in baseball: throw hard, hit hard, right? And what does Shane Baz do? He fucking throws high 90s, and if somebody lines him up, it goes far. And if you're playing in a minor league stadium with wind blowing out and it's 100 degrees in Florida, I mean, that ball is probably going to go for a long ways, right? Jacob Wilson goes there, and then a bunch of the pitchers go. Jordan Beck goes, who would have been kind of a nice stacking partner for us. We probably only need one more outfielder. We did the Churio plus Tatis combination here. So we probably only need one more outfielder to round this out. Man, why does nobody want Simeon? I mean, it's boring. I'm not in love with it. It's boring, but I'm good with it here. You know who I'm going to take, though? A lot of people are really excited about Emmett Sheehan, and, kind of rightfully so. I'm going to go ahead and take Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's timeline looks like really good to me. And everything out of camp is like he looks like old Garrett Cole. Dude, they're going to be pushing for a wild card and or the division this year. They have no reason to treat it softly. Like, give me the horse back here, man. Like, give me the horse who used to be a first-round pick and just see what happens, man. I think Garrett Cole's ADP should be rising. Like, if you're going to tell me, like, Emmett Sheehan is, like, everybody's worst-kept secret as, like, look at Emmett Sheehan. I'm smart. I know shit about baseball that I'm in on Emmett Sheehan. Like, he could be part of a six-man with the Dodgers. Now, teams talk about doing six-mans more than they actually wind up doing six-mans. But, like, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani, why'd I just blank on? Who the hell were we just talking about? Blake Snell. Yeah, you got 4 locked in, and then it's Sheehan, Rookie, Gavin Stone, and who's the one I'm missing from last year? Landon Knack. Like, they have an abundance. Like, if Emmett Sheehan was on any other team than the Dodgers, I'll hear you out, bro. I'll hear you out. It reminds me of, like, Tyler Mahle. And Eno said, Tyler Mahle was his favorite guy, and he was the stuff plus darling. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago, and like everybody's just jamming Tyler Mahle and running him up the boards. Or last year, everybody was like, Eno said, hey, dark horse Gavin Williams for Cy Young. And everybody was jamming him. He was having a great spring and jamming him over and over again. And it's like, I just don't want to get concentrated on a super volatile dude whose rotation spot is even fragile, let alone if his, abilities are going to match. Like, hey, is he closer to Cam Schlittler than his ADP indicates? Yeah, absolutely. But so are a lot of these fucking pitchers, So that's kind of just my take on it. Chase DeLauder, I don't have a ton of him yet, but he's hurt again, evergreen. But he comes back. So I don't know. Who knows? But I just don't like taking dudes who are hurt and perennially hurt. So I'm kind of out on it. Kyle Manzardo's is Nez's highest owned one. So maybe I got to be mixing him in a little bit more than I already have been. But this is the point in the board where I just start scrolling. I'm good with Carlos Rodon as my last pitcher. Like, it's totally fine to just take a vet dude who has like high ratios and whatever at the very end. So I'm good with it. I think he's kind of a tier break guy. Jack Leiter didn't get approval to join the World Baseball Classic because of insurance stuff. I don't think it's health related. It's just the Rangers protecting their investment. Cade Horton is kind of, I'd rather play Cade Horton than Emmett Sheehan. I think there's a chance Cade Horton pitches, and like this might be hyperbole. Cade Horton could throw 80 more innings than Emmett Sheehan this year. Dead ass. 80 more. And, he goes behind. Now, Sheehan's profile is a little bit more exciting. He throws harder, strikeout rate's better. And, Cade Horton's more of like an innings eater. And he's kind of like this. It's not as sexy a portfolio or profile. Let's just say that. But yeah, I don't know. I just like, yeah. Ryan Weathers is kind of fun back here. He's looked really good in spring. Yeah. I think I need to get a little bit more Jonathan Aranda in my life. But we're just going to start scrolling, man. We're going to go crazy scrolling. This is the most draft capital I've ever spent on pitching in a stream draft. We are done with 7 pitchers, and we still have 4 picks to go. So we're going to turn off the purple button. We're going to think about some stacking partners out here. We could take like Crawford to stacked with Trey Turner. We could do something with the Dodgers with like Max Muncy and Mookie. That makes a lot of sense to me. Houston, like we could take like an Isak Paredes, but I think the Isak Paredes thesis is more that he gets traded and gets moved on from. But we haven't done a ton of stacking on this team, so let's backfill our roster with stack partners. Oh, hold on. Duckies. Hold on. He sees in the backyard, you can see through the tree line and then see someone like walking along like the boardwalk behind. Little Austin Hayes stack, lefty killer Austin Hayes added to this. Austin Hayes shout in the chat. Some ball knowers out here. Love that from MC. That's a good one. Keller or Abbott over Sheehan. I like that. Abbott, people forget Abbott was an all-star, I'm good with that. Okay, let's think about how we're going to land this plane. I prefer to cross positional stack, but that might not be on the table for one of my ideas. I don't know. What do you guys think about Brandon Marsh? Think Brandon Marsh could play every day in center? You get rid of Nick Castellanos, but you bring in Adolis. The Crawford stuff. People are talking about, can Crawford rip his job? Justin Crawford getting like drafted more frequently. He probably starts the year in the minors. Yeah, I don't know. Jordan Walker is kind of like everybody's favorite darling down here. Mike Yastrzemski should get a little bit of a boost here, provided Atlanta doesn't do any more moves. But Yastrzemski was a guy who was getting drafted in the previous contest and now isn't getting drafted and now probably should. I mean, he's in his mid-30s and he's been a platoon bat, but good lineup for him. Tucky's leave it. Tucker's. I'm still kind of in on Cam Smith, guys. I am still kind of in on Cam Smith. But I'm going to take my first guy is going to be Vargas. I kind of wanted to cross positional stack my White Sox stack, but if we're going to take 2, we may as well take 3 and put Vargas alongside. Just kind of a bet that between these 3 guys, you can get, 100 homers. Like that's kind of like the thought process. Maybe that's like very rich in saying and very rose-colored glasses, but not terrible. But we got 3 White Sox stacked hitters. We get 2 Dodgers, so that's 5. And now we're going to have to find, because I kind of don't like leaving a draft with less than 8 stacked hitters. So we're going to have to find 2 more stack partners here. Milwaukee, like we could do Andrew Vaughn to end. What do we got for the Brewers here? We could do Vaughn, Garrett Mitchell, Perkins is a platoon guy. San Diego, playing time is just pretty sketch for Gavin Sheets and Miguel Andujar now because they're gonna kind of like cannibalize one another as like a lefty righty platoon. There's just slappy spring training picks there for Jensen and Basallo. Love that. Ball knower. I think there's a pretty obvious stack partner for us right now, so I'm not going to type in his name. You could do like the Owen Cassie guy. It's okay. I don't love it. Roto Gut, aka Vlad, told me he didn't love it, but he's a good Canadian kid and he's playing for the Canada's World Baseball Classic team. I think there's still a little bit of a logjam in the outfield, but I like the ceiling of Cam Smith on this roster. I know I've talked about it before on the program, but like, hey, we did the Jose Altuve thing. We may as well add Cam Smith to it. You know, he almost goes 10-10 last year in half a year, just over half a year. He was the prize acquisition of the Kyle Tucker deal. They just got rid of Jesus Sanchez, who's another fine, late round pick. Maybe he just platoons with, sorry, I forgot to click the board here. Maybe he just platoons with Joey Loperfido. Is that how you say his name? Loperfido from the Jays, who they got back in that trade. Maybe Zach Cole's out there. Maybe Jake Myers is out there. I don't know. I think if he's in there and he makes the team, he's going to play every day, or else you would just send him down to get every day at bats. So I'm in on it. Jordan's got to primarily do DH duties. Jose Altuve's been playing second base instead of left field. So I'm kind of here for it, man. Like I think Cam Smith could play every day. And if they get rid of Isak Paredes and trade him to, hey, maybe Atlanta, now that they lost Profar, they've been trying to find a partner for Paredes this whole offseason. That just opens up another pathway for Cam Smith to get playing time. I don't know how that happens, but it does happen. Yeah, interesting to decide what we're going to do with this last roster spot. I think it's probably infield. We got some pretty, just some pretty fragile playing time situations in terms of infield. So we could maybe do a skinny stack with Fernando Tatis and take like Jake Cronenworth. Did Cronzone go yet? Cronenworth feels like kind of a fine scroll. It's not sexy. Maybe he ends up playing multiple positions and being a platoon risk or a defensive lift risk guy. But I think it's fine. I think Vaughn is fine. Not amazing. And he's got some risk that like, well, I was going to say Rake Berger. Why am I blanking on Jake Bauer? Rake Bowers could potentially be a platoon partner for him. I like Berger in a vacuum. I like Steer in a vacuum. They're both here, but they don't stack for us. I think Xander's probably fine, but everybody who does the Fernando Tatis thing does Xander and then doesn't do Cronenworth. Cronenworth seems like the leader in the clubhouse for me right now. Miami, like you could do Otto Lopez, good Canadian kid, might play every day, and you could do Xavier Edwards, but it's primarily just banking on steals. It's low ceiling. Yeah, let's do the Crone Zone. Royce Lewis is hurt again. Mason Wynn's kind of fun. He could lead off every single day and is down here. Bryce Eldridge has a path to playing every damn position on the roster. I don't know why Carson's all the way up here. I don't think he's going to break camp with the team. Westberg, if we get like some good news on the UCL stuff, he's fine in the last round still, but I don't know. It took Bryce Harper half a year to return and then play through it. Goatnap takes Otto Lopez there. Zach Veen was definitely an option for us because the back end of our outfield isn't the strongest in the world, but just the way we spent draft capital means that we probably had to spend draft capital at infield there opposed to outfield. Spencer Jones, can he, he's having a good spring. He had that monster home run. I don't know. Can he supplant the Martian or something like that? Lourdes Gurriel, can he be ready for opening day? Like he's free down here. Yeah. Austin Hayes, his glove will keep him in the lineup and he kills lefties. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, all in all, fun draft, guys. One more that I was thinking about with the Athletics was, who wins center field? Because you got Denzel Clark, good Canadian kid playing for the WCB team, and you got Colby Thomas as well. Denzel Clark probably gets first crack at it. His glove keeps him in the lineup. If one of these guys wins center field for the entirety of the year, like they're being underdrafted right now. So like, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for making that pod 2 out of 11. There you go. All right, guys. 2.5 hours of underdog related fun. I'll read off the roster to close the show. Appreciate you who hung out this whole time. Appreciate you guys who were in the drafts alongside me. David Peterson, that feels like a good one for the last pick there. Yeah, nice. Did Chris Bassett get drafted? Is he getting drafted in every single one now? Okay. I think Chris Bassett's like a good innings eating guy. Pretty strong front end rotation here by my standards. Crochet, Peralta, Pavetta, Erie Perez, Shane Baz, Garrett Cole, and Carlos Rodon. That's a lot of capital from my standpoint, but some good palatable price points and some arms that I like. I really like that group. Mookie Betts bounce back, Trey Turner bounce back, and then we go with the White Sox breakout of Murakami, Montgomery, and Vargas. Then you go professional ass Max Muncy for a mini stack with Betts. And then you go Crone Zone. We are all in the Crone Zone alongside Fernando Tatis Jr. And then we go Jackson Chourio as kind of a one-off. We could have taken Willem Contreras at one point instead of, I can't remember. I think it was a pitcher. I think it was instead of Nick Pivetta. So maybe if we go back in time, we kind of like that. Jose Altuve, just kind of an end of a tier guy, and we made it work by adding Cam Smith to it. Jacob Marcy, I don't take a ton of. And then Brenton Doyle, I'm not overly scared about the strain and still really like him. I just wanted to point a couple picks out in the last round there, some guys to think about. I wouldn't take Ryan Nelson. He's so floory and he plays in such a tough division, but he's okay when he pitches at home against some bad opponents. So maybe if his playoff schedule is nice, it's okay. Lopez was good last year. He was definitely the best Athletics pitcher for a large portion of the season. Obviously a tough home park, but I kind of like it. Weathers is going to be moving up the board. Merrill Kelly, Abbott feel good. Quinn Priester people like. Ashcraft Nez really likes. Bailey Ober is kind of underrepresented right now, so that one's probably kind of good. And then Luis Heel down here. That's interesting. Just a guy that we talked about one of the days, but I don't know. I think they want to give him every chance to start and stay in that rotation. Former Rookie of the Year. I mean, he was a little bit older when he won Rookie of the Year because he's like in his third year basically right now, and he's 28, so he was an older Rookie of the Year, but he's probably going to have a rotation spot to start the year, and he's just got to beat out like Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, and Ryan Weathers. Like he's got to beat out like one of those guys when Cole and Rodon come back. So why not bet on the guy who, he threw it hard as fuck before he got hurt and he was a Rookie of the Year. So yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting one. I just wanted to talk through out loud. All right. Anyways, good luck, everybody. Yes, Joshua, appreciate the love for this weekend. We will have some more content coming down the pipeline this weekend. But yes, I do wish me luck. Please, one time, run good one time. No, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity. I'm going to have some fun. I've already done a little bit of preliminary research, but you guys know me, man. I can't control my destiny. I can't control my fate. I'm not going to put too much stock in it. I'm going to try as hard as I can. I'm going to prepare as hard as I can, and I'm going to play as hard as I can, but I can't control what takes place on the court. So I'm just going to enjoy the experience, love the afternoon, watch some basketball in the sunshine with my friends, and yeah, have some good jokes. But I appreciate the love from Joshua, from Matt, etc. Goat Nap saying good luck to everybody in the NBA streets. I will say the same to you guys as I part out the door here. Keep an ear to the street for the upcoming schedule, but most likely something on Saturday if you guys are interested in Dog Bowl coverage. All right, that's it for me. Good luck tonight. Check out Unabated. Check out the Solver, all that fun stuff. Easy DFS if you want to use something for MLB as well there. Yeah, everybody's favorite time of the show. The end. Peace. Next time we see you, we'll be at the Dog Bowl.